liberty, and justice for all.
6 o'clock, and I call a meeting of the Harrison Select Board for 2026 to order. All members are present. Press the button. For the public's information, as I understand it, this is our first recent live Select Board meeting. Not that it's the first meeting the Select Board's live, but we're being broadcast live as well as a recording. So I would ask everyone to behave accordingly, since there'll be no editing out of bad words or discivil behavior tonight. So having said that, the first item is the adjustments to the agenda.
Yes, I'd like to suggest we have people from the Booster Club here, as well as Pam on behalf of Christmas for Harrison event. Can we move them up further to the top of the agenda so they can get through?
I have no consent of the board.
Yeah.
We'll move them up to, did you have a suggestion where you want to put them?
We can do it during the public participation.
Okay. We'll include them after the public has had a chance to offer their opinions. Any other adjustments? If not, we do have a lot of things. If the board members feel conversation on any particular item is going too long, they can ask a point of order and for the item to be tabled. So moving along, we'll go first to the town manager's report.
Okay. In the area of human resources, the final draft of the updated personnel policy has been completed. I'm reviewing it right now. I got one final meeting with the HR consultant, and then they will be distributed to department heads for review, as well as legal. And then I'm hoping, depending on the turnaround time with our attorneys, I'm going to aim for the first meeting in May for the board to have your first pass at the updated personnel policy. Other area of human resources is we have filled a public works vacancy with an internal candidate, so one of the seasonal on-call plow drivers accepted the full-time spot. Drew Gagnon, he'll be beginning with us the onboarding process on Monday the 30th. In the areas of technology, Fidium is in its final preparatory phase of moving forward with the installation of fiber optic internet and the phone system. They're estimating somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks before beginning the work. We've asked that they begin at the transfer station. This will get fiber optic up to the transfer station so that we'll be able to have a different type of point of sale credit card device that will save us money in bank fees. So Lake Region TV is going to be live streaming us now at no additional cost. The digital accessibility audit, which is through GP-COG, is progressing. I believe I got a meeting coming up next week to check in on that, but this will make sure that all of our digital communications are ADA compliant for the new law that's going to be coming out. Boosters update. We have been notified that Boosters was able to get insurance through the national organization, and we'll be providing documentation of that. And they've also reported that they'll be able to staff the bottle switch.
Nice.
Nice. Good news. Some updates in the area of downtown revitalization and economic growth and development. I recently attended 2 business meetings, one with the block building owners and another with the Harrison Business Alliance. The block building needs costly repairs, and the owners are inquiring what the town could do to facilitate grants or anything like that. And I discussed that with Paul Johnson from GP-COG. He then in turn got in touch with Daryl, our grant writer, and I believe they're coming up with some possible options on what kind of economic growth and development grant funds might be available to assist. Also along the lines of businesses is the business post down here at the intersection. The Harrison Business Alliance is working on selling updated, new signposts for to the different businesses. We are one of them for the Radar Sports Complex, so ours will get updated as well. Some of the proceeds of that project is going to be hopefully going towards some kind of a digital presence for the local business organizations in the form of either a directory or a website. So another little update to do with the downtown revitalization is I met with Jackie Gray, who was the founder of Main Street Harrison, and they're looking to get that back up and running, kind of lulled out for a little bit.
My question would be, what is it and what do they do?
So there's a national organization called Main Street America, then there's a state chapter, and then local communities can have, it's a nonprofit that supports local businesses. It was started up a couple of years ago, I believe. I got a little bit of history on it, and then it sort of fizzled out. There was another name for it also, Harrison 583, something, it was something 583. That I guess they had to change the name because they weren't officially affiliated with Main Street America. But in April, mid-April, myself and Jackie have a meeting with the Maine State chapter of Main Street America to look at what they have to do to be affiliated with them. LD 2173 update, so I think you were all included in the email, and I did make a copy of the email, and it should be in the packets here somewhere, that with the help of GP Cog, there's an improved version of LD 2173 that addresses some of the top concerns that towns had with the affordable housing bill. Again, I have a copy of it in there, so there was, yes.
Again,
That's okay.
was there anything, from what I read in there, it didn't look like it was impacting Harrison at all? That it was more coastal towns?
Yeah,
And
so,
some of the bigger towns, because now they don't have to apply, until 2027 rather than this year. It was pushed off until when Harrison. And then the other items, to me, just look like they're more coastal town.
in towns with municipal wastewater systems.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. It didn't sound like anything impacted Harrison, or am I missing something?
No, not greatly, so,
Okay.
but, resilience, Resilient Harrison will be holding an energy fair on Saturday, the 28th at the fire station from 10 to 2. Then the public engagement meeting for the Resilience Grant will be Monday night at the fire station also from 6 to 7:30. So I've been working with Resilient Harrison as well as CB out of Norway on hopefully getting a grant off the ground for community action projects. So, and the fiscal year 27 budget process. So the budget committee met on Monday to vote on recommendations. They have identified 3 scenarios to be presented to the select board in the joint workshop on Monday, April 6th. And one other item that came up, just two other quick updates that just came as of the last 24 hours, but I did have a little bit more progress with the area of cellular communications. I was able to speak with a company, the company that Rumford worked with to get nodes on their streetlights, and it sounds like we have a few different options on how it would work. They basically the agreement would be between us and them for having these devices on the streetlights. And they would, in turn, make an arrangement with the cellular carrier for the service. Now, for streetlight options, there's a few different things we could do. They actually offered to work with CMP to get an agreement, since we don't own the streetlights. They suggested another option, which could be to purchase some of the CMP streetlights so that they're ours, and it would streamline the process on getting an agreement for the nodes to be on the streetlights. Another option is maybe purchasing decorative streetlights for the village, and they'd be able to have them on those as well. So I'm still working on figuring out what the most cost-effective option would be for on streetlights to be able to move forward on that, so. And I spoke with Matt Drost from Maine DOT today. We're going to be getting going on the village partnership planning as soon as April 21st, I believe, Tuesday, April 21st. So that's what kind of the kickoff will be. We'll be walking around through the village, myself, Darrell, Public Works Director, Parks Director, a select board member. They asked if there was a select board member that maybe wanted to join as well in the meeting. And he's bringing a team as well, and that will kind of get the process started. The paving of Route 117 will be in the spring of '27, so the paving is about a year out, but that's actually good because the planning is going to be starting now, and they may be able to incorporate some of our projects or goals that we have for the downtown into their paving projects. So that gives us time to integrate, the paving and what we're going to be doing, so.
Quick question, going back to the cellular communication. Is that just the immediate downtown area that we're thinking about, or is it further out, going up?
It could be wherever the issues are.
Okay.
So if we're able to buy some of the, I have no idea what it costs to buy streetlights. I just started working on that angle today. I know the decorative ones, that would probably be limited to the village, if we go that route. The salesman I met with said that he believes it's possible we might be able to buy
Excuse me, guys. You wanna just...
We might be able to buy some of the streetlights from CFP. So, and then in that case, then there
We
would
could look
be
at
areas where
areas.
there's coverage issues.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
So we might look at the village as the first phase of this, or a pilot,
Yeah.
and then see whether the same approach can be used in other dark sections in the future. It sounds like there's a number of, sort of under the umbrella of the downtown revitalization.
Yeah,
There's
a lot going on.
a number of, your to-do list is getting extended as we speak.
It is.
John, I just have one question in regards to the downtown revitalization, the grant that Darrell's grant options looking into. That money will be available to other businesses in downtown and, buildings downtown also, correct? It's just not going to be...
I haven't had a chance to really get informed about details of what the grant even is.
Okay.
All that, I spoke with Paul about it, and I explained the issue. He's familiar with the block building. He says, oh yeah, I think there's some disaster relief grants, funds out there. And he says, I'll get in touch with Darrell, we'll have a meeting, and then I'll be back in touch. So
Okay.
I'll get more details to come
Yeah,
on that.
because we have other buildings. We have the Grange, we have the church, we have other buildings in town that,
Yep.
can't support the renovations that they need, so it's just not the block buildings, so.
Yeah. And then there's also, Darrell has also worked in the area of facade improvements, grants for facade improvements.
Okay.
So that's another area that I've discussed with them that I'd like to explore a little bit more on, is what we can maybe do for, between maybe the state grant funds as well as maybe some town funds that could match the local businesses on fixing up some of the facades. So.
Which, I think, to Mike's point, would be something the select board would discuss, but would be available to the community of business owners.
Right.
I think any property in the
Yeah.
downtown revitalization should be able to access those funds.
Yes, I think there's a lot of conversation regarding
Yeah.
the scope of that, the depth, the financial commitments. So I think, again, there's a lot going on specifically around the village, so. We didn't give you much vacation this year, did we? Thank you. Any other questions?
That was good, thank you.
Thank you, John. Next item is additional reports. And John and Catherine, I think you provide a lot of details for us in the folder. I would just perhaps suggest we do have a lot tonight to get to. unless you have something terribly important, I would say when you get the chance to go through it, certainly follow up with John if you need more details.
And I can follow up with Catherine, I did have a couple, I like the web Harrison newsletter click-throughs and stuff. I just have a question about what all of them mean, but we can do that offline.
I could just do two quick highlights
Sure.
to do with the department reports, stuff that might not have been in there. One of the compactors at the transfer station, the hoses were dead. So one of the compactors is out of service. The mechanic is away on training this week. He will be addressing it on Saturday. And just the only other department update, I guess, is that the rec department is starting to plan for the summer recreation program. And just before this, there was a meeting that involved parents and other members of the community on starting that thorough planning process.
Have we determined a way to make this available on the website?
I can upload it, put it somewhere.
Is a place that the public can find it if they want to see the details,
Department reports?
the department reports?
Yeah.
I can do it.
I don't think, I think there's a lot of information, so.
A lot of detail, a lot of
There's a lot of
statistics.
There it is, yeah.
I mean, it'd be interesting for people to see.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll move along to an agenda item I asked John and Catherine to add this month and maybe for the future, where we have external agencies or entities that come and speak before the board on either specific topics or providing general information. So we have a couple of people on the agenda tonight. Cumberland County Commissioner, first up.
That's me. Thank you for inviting me up here. My name is Tom Tyler, and I represent District 2 of Cumberland County, which includes Harrison. I don't have a real long report, other than I'd like to just go over a little bit of everybody is complaining about the increase. We ended up, our last meeting a couple of weeks ago, we adopted a 12.93, I think was the final number increase. That was lower than we originally projected. We found some more funds to work with. Harrison's actual number just dropped down to 8.59. This year was a highly unusual year for us. I've told him I'm in my second year of being on the board, but we ended up unfortunately with all four of our unions contracts in the same year. Amy Jennings, our HR manager, has done a wonderful job of getting the contracts renegotiated so that they're staggered from here on out, which will be a blessing over the years. It'll mitigate some of that problem. The other problem is, as we all know, medical insurance. I think went up 12%. You know, it's a staggering number that's across the country. And the other problem we've run into is loss of federal funds. You all know what's going on with the jail and with the ICE problem. It's all over the news. ICE has pulled, we were getting $150 per day per inmate. ICE has pulled all of their inmates away from Cumberland County and spread them out all over. We're still dealing with the marshal's contract, and which is a good thing, but that is in the air because it's all part of the same master contract. So if that gets renegotiated, we don't know what's going to happen. So we couldn't really budget federal funds in there. So that was another hit we took. We've dipped into surplus, unassigned surplus money, brought that percentage down just to try to mitigate as best we could. The other thing is our county treasurer, Teresa, she's also looked at how we handle our money with the banks. In the past, we've always swapped no bank fees for no interest on the money. Well, because the interest rates have gone up and crept up over the last few years, so we've reversed that. So that's now an income generating situation for the county, so we're gaining a little more ground. Bottom line, it's not good news. Can't stand here and tell you we have a great budget. Nobody on the commission is happy with it. But any questions I can answer, we had the worst case scenario across the board. And when the gym first it started out at somewhere in the 14s, and then we got it down to 13. Now we've got it down under 13 to 12, but it's, and I was showing John a little earlier, I live in Wyndham, and Wyndham's is 9.8, but if you go to Gray, they're up 16 point something. Some of the towns are close to 20. It's because the number, we come up with a base number, and as you all know, then it gets skewed by state formula for valuations. But that's where we're at, and wished I could come up here and say, hey, we're reducing, but I can't do it. Yeah. Questions?
Thank you. Questions from the board?
You stated that you can't budget based on any federal funds coming in. I understand that. Is there a chance that we might get federal funds?
Yes.
Still up in the air?
Still up in the air. The master contract with the federal government has, and this is what some people because we've had people coming in to our place every week and protesting the ICE situation, which is fine. But that contract's been in effect for 32 years. Nothing new. And we've always had anywhere from 20, 25, 30 U.S. Marshals holdovers at any given time, and some Border Patrol. Well, now the uptick in enforcement with ICE, that number was jumping up to 50, 60, 70, as many as 90 sometimes. That was found money. I mean, it was extra money that we didn't count on. The problem is the contract lists all the federal entities. And you've heard protesters saying, uncheck the box, uncheck the box. It's been all over the news. Well, it's part of the master contract. So we don't know, and our manager, Jim Gailey, is talking to the feds right now to see if he can adjust the contract without voiding the whole contract. That's what we're looking into. Apparently ICE is not happy with Cumberland County. They're not coming back. It doesn't look like they are. So yes, right now federal money is still coming in. It was in the newspapers that ICE was way behind in payments. They were, because of the federal issue, they're all paid up now. We're completely caught up with the federal government. So we're not out that $2 million that was in the newspaper. It is just the fact that we can't count the federal money in the budget. We don't dare. Because if we do, then we're at a shortfall, and so we're taking the money out of the budget, playing along. If we get it, then that'll reduce some of the stuff down the road. But right now, it's a crapshoot. Honestly, a crapshoot.
If you get the money after it's voted on, your budget is voted on, will the money go back to the towns?
That I can't promise. We've gone into our surplus just to try to reduce as best we could. The federal monies have always been used to replenish that. And the other thing that's happened in the last few years, the state has required us to do the jail as a separate entity. So the jail has its own surplus funds. The county has their surplus funds. It always used to be one master pool. It's not anymore. The state has put a bunch more new requirements on how we handle so that they can document the jails as a separate item. And that's not a new that's all over the state. I mean, it's every jail in the state. I'm the representative from Cumberland County to the state Commissioners Association, the statewide association. And Cumberland County is in far better shape than many of the counties in the state, unfortunately. But everybody's facing this jail problem. They're requiring so much more of the state that, yes, maybe not in this budget cycle, but if that money comes back in, it can be reapplied to the next budget cycle. We've run a lean budget. The other problem is we're still short on deputies. Well, I was over to Gray a couple of weeks ago, and they asked, well, if you've lost all the ICE prisoners, are you reducing the number of deputies? And we said, no, we're still short about 15 deputies. You know, it's very hard to find people who want to be a police officer today. So we're still down in count of what we should have, because the other thing you've all seen in the newspapers, forced overtime. You know, that's, if we could get this level up to where it belongs of the number of deputies we need, then the forced overtime would be reduced. And that would save a lot of money, because when you're paying everything time and a half for 60, 70 hours a week, it's, if you can know anybody who wants to be a police officer or a jail worker, we're looking very hard.
We'll try and pass them on.
How much of the surplus have you tapped into? Do you know, estimate, dollar-wise amount?
How much is what?
How much money have you pulled out of the surplus fund? For the budget number.
I know it went from, law requires us to have between 16 and 20, and we dropped it down, I want to say it was $500,000. Something like that. And then she found another 250,000 we applied, which dropped it down again.
My question is, I recall last year, you did a great job of publishing this budget somewhere online. Is it published online yet?
We just finalized it, whatever 2 Mondays ago was, so I'm not sure it's online yet, but it might be. I'll find out and let Don know.
I looked at it on the website. Yeah.
Did you? Okay, I haven't even looked at it, because I have my hard copy here. This was a form I asked Jim to create for me, for all of us. This shows every town in the county and what their increase is and what the change is from a year ago. I said, if I'm gonna go to these meetings and I'm gonna get beat on, I wanna know what's happening.
Could we have a copy of that paper?
Yeah, I don't think there's any proprietary language, public knowledge, so.
It is nice to hear that Harrison has a smaller impact than some other towns in the county.
Oh, yeah.
There's a term for that.
It is less, yes.
I have a couple of questions. So, just to back up, the process that's available for everybody, the process of developing the budget, it's a series of meetings that are televised, so it's open, those meetings are open to the public.
The meetings are open to the public. We do have a finance committee, which is composed of non-county. It's usually town managers, select board people. They met. There's a number up to 15, I think. I think it was 12 of them this year. They met starting in January. They run about 5 or 6 different sessions. Their final meeting, when we were at 13.5, they voted to say okay with some suggestions, and that's when we went and found and got it back down below 13. But yeah, we do a finance committee, and if anybody in your organization wants to belong, they're welcome.
So there are openings on that finance committee?
Yes, there are, and they do it and most of the meetings are done in-house at Northport and by Zoom.
The other question I have is you mentioned that our paying will be less than some other towns. The allocation is based on valuation. And I think one of the issues we struggle with every year is that there's a sense that we may not get as many services or as much in the way of services because of our geographical location at the opposite end of the county. For example, we fund deputies
Yes.
above what's covered by the sheriff's department. Has there been any sense of whether, how the services, of looking at the cost of the services and how they're being used, such that there may be a funding scheme that could better utilize, like for example, if you take, like Portland events, for example, generate a lot of use of county resources, and they draw a lot of people, and they may use a lot of resources that people at this end of the county don't use that much of. I mean, I use the sheriff's department as an example where some of the towns don't pay for extra police coverage because of their location and the way the schedule is worked out for how the sheriff's deputies cover the county. So I think there's a sense that sometimes we're not getting as good value for our money as some of the other towns. And kind of looking at the cost of the services and how and where they're being utilized might affect the funding scheme somehow.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally a town choice. Standish does the same as you do, Standish, Gray, Harrison, Hopswell does, New Gloucester does not. Some of the towns choose, the choice is, do I want somebody as close to my town at all times in my town, or do I, if the guy's patrolling Naples, or he's down somewhere, how long is it going to take him to get here, because Bridgeton has their own force. So, yes, it's a conscious choice by the town. The towns that do it have voted time and time again, the townspeople, yes, we want that service. We want somebody that can be here in 15 minutes and not 2 hours. But yeah, we constantly look at how we do it. The problem is, I was talking to some of these gentlemen earlier, the new contracts, as I said, it's hard to find police officers.
Sure.
And you've got towns in Cumberland County, closer to the coast, that have full-time departments, and their new contracts, and I know Wyndham, I live in Wyndham, been in Wyndham my entire life, and I just met with the town people down there. Their new contracts, a police officer starting at, brand new police officers, $40 plus an hour. That skews what the county can pay, because you got to get up in that realm or you don't get new people. Same with the jail. It's very, very tough to find people who want to work in the jail. We're looking all the time for more jail officers. And
The other comment I had was regarding Mike's point. We had a similar situation last year or the year before where, because of the budget process with the schools, we collected money, tax money, and then the budget was reduced. Now, your situation is a little different, but not dissimilar in that it sounds like there's a possibility you'll get more revenue in it at a later date. And we went to great steps to be careful that the money did not disappear into general revenue, for example. That it was specifically allocated to offset the succeeding year's school tax levy. So somehow I guess I would suggest that the Finance Committee consider that sort of approach. If you get more revenue in after the fact, after the budget is settled.
yeah, I can honestly say that Jim and Teresa look at that all the time. How do we manage that dollar? Because, I don't know, because a sore spot up here in this end of the county has always been the Civic Center in Portland, Cross Insurance Arena. I can honestly, I was on that board for 10 years, 11 years, and I was chairman of the Cross Insurance Arena for 6 of those years. When we got the new arena manager in, first thing I said to him, I says, I only have one request. I want to see one black dollar at the end of the year. I don't care if it's $1 or $10, but I want to see the numbers in the black and not the red. The last 5 years, we have been profitable. That Civic Center is not costing the county any money.
Good.
And he's an awesome guy, Mike LeConte, he's awesome at getting stuff in there. But yeah, we look at that all the time. How can we reduce, and what can we do, and what can we do to save money? And this is as tight, Jim, I'm sure, has done as tight a budget he dares to do.
At this point,
One more?
just to the public that per $500,000 home, the tax was for 280 for 2023-24 was $285.50. 24-25 it went down to $255.18. 25-26 it went down again to $44.56, and this year it went up $12. So if you a $500,000 home, you're paying an extra $12.23 on the taxes. I think you guys
A
did.
year?
So I think you guys did a pretty good job on. It's, I don't think that's bad.
If there's more of questions from the board. We'll take a look and see if there's any questions from the public.
Certainly. Also, we come out with a new brochure. We heard a lot of questions, and I faced them the whole time. What does the county do for you? There's some brochures that explain what county government is.
I think that comes up every year.
Yeah. Well, it's there now. So we've actually put it on paper.
So while we have them here, does anybody have any questions for the county commissioner? There is at least one slot open on the finance committee, and
Oh, I think there's more than that. They won't meet again now until next year, so if anybody's interested, contact me or contact, my email is tyler@cumberlandcounty.org, or contact Gailey, William Gailey. I'm sure he'd welcome more faces.
but I think we appreciate you coming up.
Yes, thank you.
No problem, thanks for the invite. I've been to Gray, been to Wyndham, I gotta go back to Wyndham. I got a few more to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item we have is the school board update, which I think you take the form of either our school board representatives. Just let me mention the thought was that we would get to some regular cycle to keep the communication flowing, whether it's once every month or a couple of months. Would have some interaction on whatever the topics of interest would be.
Yeah, and we would have been here a month ago. John had reached out, and that was my schedule conflicted, so that was not Mr. Hyden. I have some stuff prepared, but I don't want to take up all the time. If you folks have questions, how do you want me to proceed?
No, I'd rather hear.
Yeah.
So,
Proceed.
fire away.
Okay. So we had a couple of wins in this past year on the board. We believe things that Mark and I had both worked on. Some of you may be aware that the board passed a cell phone policy at the middle and junior high school. And Mark and I both serve on the policy committee. We were both very active in those discussions and aggressively pushed to get it addressed. So what we came away with was a bell-to-bell, zero cell phone use on campus. So what we did not do is not allow cell phone use on school buses. The thinking was, one, we have a hard time keeping and getting school bus drivers. We didn't want to put that responsibility on them. I mean, they've got their hands full. So feedback on that policy has been amazing. Mark and I have talked about it. It makes us feel very good about pushing it as we did. Teachers are talking about hearing conversations in the hallways and in cafeteria that they hadn't heard before. And we've got kids playing cards, at lunch. And, just the kind of thing that we were all talking about was, what the cell phone use was doing was eliminating engagement and kind of having like an underground communication through texts that wasn't heard by staff, teachers, and administrators, so that there could be an issue bubbling up in the school and they weren't aware of it. So far so good. We're very happy we did it, and it seems to be working very well. So I just think of that as a win in our community. So we're both proud of that. The other item that Mark and I have both been working on, and Mark has some things to weigh in on this as well, is the both of us, and Mark pushed this by sending me a ton of information, articles, is there's a artificial intelligence policy coming up, pending in the school, and this is about use. For my purposes, Mark was an educator. I was looking in terms of practical application. One of the things that we learned 2 policy meetings ago was the school educators and administrators have agreed on a platform. So AI is here, AI is not going away. So what educators around the country are doing is looking at how do we get a hold of this and how do we use it responsibly and understand how it may be used irresponsibly by students, not implying a negative, but they're kids, so they need some direction. So the direction that it looks like the administrators and the educators want to go in is single platform, educate the staff and instructors first so that they understand what this tool is, when it's used, what it looks like, and get everybody on the same page. So there's going to be a bumpy road. My guess is it will be an evolving policy as we see how this impacts students, and I'll let Mark speak to the concerns, legitimate concerns that he brought up with curriculum.
Have they selected a platform? Have they selected?
They have, but at gunpoint, I couldn't tell you the name of
Okay,
it.
okay.
So they've selected it, but it has not been established as policy yet, so we're
Okay.
voting on this. It's pending.
And just to add a little bit of polish to the cell phone policy, without pointing fingers in any other direction, but we are aware of schools that are proud of their cell phone policies, and then when you talk to the teachers, you discover that in fact they don't have any effect at all. They are not being enforced, they are not being productive in achieving the goals of having a cell phone policy, whereas we're lucky enough, for a variety of reasons, that in fact our cell phone policies were carefully considered and carefully written and have been effective. I mean, I think it's useful probably to know that that's not a given just because you write a policy.
All that, I heard from a high school teacher today. It was a little painful to get started, but it's made a tremendous difference now, so.
Good.
See you guys.
Is that policy available online somewhere if we want to read it?
Yes.
Okay.
All the policies are on the website, right?
They are.
Yeah.
You might have to dig for it. I mean, I would say our website's the best, but information is available.
And I think it's labeled as school board policies. There's a whole section of it, and you can look
It's
at
extensive.
everything from how you manage certain financial issues to cell phones to a lot of the other things. I just wanted to, pick up on Mark's other point about AI. Some of you know this, and I think it's relevant, so I'm going to say it even if you already know it. My background, I attended a consolidated school district very much like ours here, out in the cornfields of northern Illinois. And we had 7 towns, and kids drove buses and everything. And boy, did I get a good education. I was very fortunate. And I consider my job here to try to do some of those kinds of things. I ended up teaching at the Connecticut equivalent of figures, right? What's the teachers' university just north of here? Farmington, yes. It was, I taught it at the equivalent, one of the Connecticut equivalents of Farmington, with a heavy educational program and so forth. I taught there 42 years, and my particular interest is curriculum development. How do you know when you've got a good curriculum? What does a good curriculum include? And what are the payoffs of a good curriculum? And it's those 3 things that I want to see the policies that we're writing about AI curriculum attending to. I was teaching during the years when lazy students switched their shortcuts from encyclopedias to Google. And I think the opportunities for ramping up the Google dependence are pretty significant when you start talking about AI. And so as we move into the specifics of a policy about how do we look at AI, how do we use it, what do we expect from it, that's going to be where I'm going to have a fair amount to say. The other thing that is important about AI and curriculum is that our introduction of the AI dimension comes just at the time when the state and the national teacher standards for curriculum have been rewritten. When I joined the board, was it 6 years ago now, something like that, I couldn't understand, based on my experience, why the topics in the state requirements were just topics. There was not much presented about what's a student supposed to do with them, what's a student supposed to know how to do, what's a student supposed to learn to do about them or with them. And I kept saying, seems to me that curriculum is ultimately about skills. How to think, how to write, how to make decisions between what you can depend on and what, in fact, is somebody's rambling. So I'm very happy to say that the national teaching curriculum standards have just been changed from topics to skills. I can't tell you how excited I am about the opportunities that presents to rethink how we put courses together and what we expect students to do, and therefore what we expect students to learn and to be able to do by the time they finish. So that's my curriculum interest, and I just got a big gift with that change.
Quick question though with,
Sure.
with AI. Is there also going to be teaching in there called out that teachers should look for abuse of AI?
Oh gosh, yes.
So
The whole idea of single
but-
platform
Right,
is understanding the platform,
and what,
how it
the
works.
style,
You know, on the flip side of this, you know, we tend to talk about the impact on kids. We've got to make sure that the instruction side of it doesn't take too much advantage of AI as well. So there's teacher accountability, and fortunately for us, the admin and the learning staff are talking that language as well. So, you know, so they're going to learn how to hold themselves to account, and in that process, they'll figure out how to hold the kids to account. But, you know, anyone that's looked into this, it gives you pause. It's an incredibly powerful tool, so.
right?
I've got just a couple more things just to go over, if is that okay?
Yeah.
So I am on the Budget Committee as well. I say, I hate to put this in context of good news. It doesn't really impact the town of Harrison. And I talked last year about dwelling on cut. It was a little more refreshing this year, but we're still in the process, but it looks like we will not have an increase year over year in the school budget. So we will be zero increase year over year in the budget. And remember, and John, I'm assuming you know about EPS and how it impacts the town, which has nothing to do with the school board. So we can't impact that. We can't impact the fact that Harrison doesn't get subsidy. But what we worked hard on was a responsible budget, holding the kids and the opportunities that we present for the kids, number one priority, instruction, but at the same time, understanding the pain that's out there amongst the taxpayers. And so these conversations have been ongoing. The budget process is long, it's arduous, there's a lot of detail. You folks work on budgets, you know what I mean? So there's a lot to it, and I can't emphasize more how seriously people take their responsibility with taxpayers' money, just as I would suggest that you folks do the same thing. So that attitude is certainly there at the school budget. The school budget's taken a lot of hits around the country. So we're working to that end, and I'm very confident that we'll have zero year-over-year increase. Now, how that affects us is a whole different story.
Understood.
And there's things happening at legislature, I won't get into the weeds on that may change EPS moving forward. My understanding is there is something that may be going to the floor.
Mark, do you have a goal for when you're planning to have that budget ready for citizens to come review it?
Right, well, the schedule and I found this out just recently, so, and you participated in a couple of these meetings last year, that's a year-over-year process.
Okay.
So the budget process plays out in the public, and it'll start in a few weeks. And, you know, when I hear the word transparency, I want to pull what little hair I have in my head out. Like the budget or not, when this budget comes out of committee, it gets pitched around the district. And people are invited, there's newsletters, there's a budget newsletter, there's a form that involves a straw poll prior to it going to a vote. I mean, other than hiring a plane and flying a placard around towns, I don't know what else the public would want from us. So the information's available, and, you know, people that are interested in how the budget works and where we're at with it, and if they want to have construction criticism, it's an input is welcome, as it is at any governmental operation, then dig in and go to some of our meetings. And all school board meetings are open to the public. Okay, we typically meet twice a month. So I just want to address quickly, because it was brought to my attention a handful of times. There was an issue with the Harrison gym floor, one that doesn't fall on us, any repairs that we've done on it. It's not a Harrison issue, it's a district issue. Money's money, we all pay for it. What I heard from a few people is that the gym floor was ruined. The gym floor is not ruined. There's about an inch and a quarter strip. I'm guessing it's about 8 feet long. It's along the wall. It's not in a traffic area. And the reason why it was done, where it should have been done and not have been done, was to get those sliding tables out of the wall, because apparently the vendor brought the product up too high when they installed, and they need those tables. So I'm not going to get into how that decision was made. That's not the level that we function at. But that will be addressed, and my understanding is that there's an RFP out for that. Thank you. Right now.
Great. And any other questions? I have a couple. You have one?
Mark, as a town, we're doing a capital improvement plan, like a 5-year capital improvement plan. Does the school district have capital improvement plan?
100%. And that capital improvement plan will change with a new middle school coming on. And if the voters vote in the consolidated elementary school, I know it's controversial here in town, I get it, then that will change capital improvement budgets for Oxford Hills as well. In a budget that doesn't always get voted in, the capital improvements money is something that will take a little bit of a hit sometimes. But what boards prior to my participation engaged in was, as we say at the board level, facilities gets kicked down the road. So the past couple of years, and just I'd say the 2 years prior to my coming on, they started to do some necessary repairs to these buildings. So it's a fight that never ends.
No.
There's a lot of facilities, 600 employees, all those buildings. It's a big organization.
Yeah,
So-
it's just frustrating when you see, you know, comments in the paper about the school bus garage, and seeing, well, the reason why was the building was never taken care of, so now we're just gonna go look for a new building.
It's a little too simplistic, I think. I
Yeah,
think
but
what's happening,
that was the quote kind of in the paper.
yeah, I don't know who that,
I think it was the
Who would have said
superintendent
that?
that quoted that this is why we need this new building, is because, and it's just, you know, you hear people come up to members of the board and just get upset, well, look at this, why aren't, you know? And so I know it gets kicked down the line, but it's frustrating when you see
well, the status of the
budget
bus garage is as much about growth in the district as anything else. So the district is at a point where it's about outgrown that building. The reason why the Bessie property was run up the flagpole, and I voted for it in committee, and I voted for it at the full school board, because I thought, because of the location and the price had just dropped, we wanted to give the voters an opportunity to weigh in. As a voter, I voted against it. After I heard the feedback from the community, and we took into consideration the fact that we were taking some property tax income away from Paris. It wasn't that this wasn't talked about at full board and in committee. But I think the public gave us the kind of feedback that made me, as a board member, think we got to do this a little bit differently. So we have to address it. The first thing we're going to do is do everything that we can do in evaluating the current location to see if we can do the expansion that we need. So, but I'm with you. Spending that money, we put it out to the voters for that reason. We did not want to make that kind of decision at the board, especially when we just came, we just put up a vote for a new middle school, which was state money, but it's all our money, and with the elementary school coming on board.
I just wanted to ask an update on a couple of projects. The middle school is a done deal, is that correct?
Yes. I mean, in progress, it's going to be a construction
It's
project.
approved, moving forward,
Yep.
state funded middle school. When's that construction gonna start, or when would we see?
I think it's like a 3-year, not start in 3 years, but I think it's a 3-year completion window. I think that there's some permitting things they're working on right now.
Do you think
But
there'll be groundwork in 2026?
If not, it'd be early 2027. Yeah.
And then the next project, the consolidated school, what's the status of that project? The
Well,
timeline?
it's going to come to the voters in November.
Are they gonna announce a proposed location sometime soon?
Your guess is as good as mine. If you're not, it's the only committee that I am aware of, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, that nobody's privy to that information until it's made public by the committee. So we don't know where
That's
that
what I had
location
read
is.
in some minutes from the school board meeting, that potentially a location would be discussed publicly in April.
Yep, potentially. And when you know, I'll find out at the same time. Because I was curious to know, and I talked to some of the folks on the board about the potential of it being somewhere in that 117 corridor, because it had been brought up in meetings. I'm not on that committee, so I'm not privy to the details. But there seemed to me to be quite a bit of interest leaning towards the 117 corridor to accommodate Waterford, Harrison, and of course the kids that now currently go to Rowe. So, but that'll be in the hands of the voters in November. So, and the state is not funding town schools. I live across the street from that school. I know what it means to the community. I've stayed away from the work you folks are doing because that's not what we do. But, so I get it, and I get why the due diligence is being done, so.
So in 6 months, we'll be voting on, the 8 towns will vote if we want to consolidate, and we'll know the location at that time.
Oh, I would think you'd know the location ahead of time, because we'll do similar to what we did with the middle school. Is we'll get all the information out there. There'll be a straw poll, kind of like they do with the budget. These big dollar items, they try to feed the information out to the public as much as they can to get people engaged. So I don't see it being any different than the middle school was.
So in general, we should be able to check back with the administration to try and confirm how far on a schedule over the next 6 to 8 months. I think the big interest is finding out when the site selection will be made.
Yeah, no, site selection's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is for every, if I had a kid in school, it would be my #1 priority.
And I think we're hoping that we'll get that information, that sounds like in the next month or two, so we can factor that into the study that Deb is the representative on the committee for the local
Yep.
committee.
Oh, I know, she sends me emails.
The other quick comment I wanted to make was just on the Bessie property that I think you suffered a little public relations image, I think, with that.
I agree. I do think it was still the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
if you look at the property, and it's adjacent to the school,
I understand.
the backside of it is connected almost to the Gwine
Yeah.
complex. There's a lot of pluses there for the district.
Sure.
Was the price tag right? Probably not. Do you
Yeah,
want to take
I just-
commercial property out of that?
I think as you were
Probably
saying,
not.
I think the public came away with an image of maybe the priorities weren't in order, that there was not enough emphasis on the impact on the taxpayers and the public, being that location. It just seemed that way, I think.
Well, and it's legitimate criticism. I will say, one of the reasons that I was interested in it initially We thought that we may be able to use the storefront, the sales office portion of that property as a classroom that would have taken, it was on $275,000 in rental off the books for us. When that changed, because we did do an analysis on the property, we paid to have an analysis done on the property, that changed my feeling towards it as well. If that offset wasn't there, I would not have voted for it in the full committee. So those are the details that you know from going to meetings. So.
Well, I think you've been very accommodating for...
You invite us, we'll come unless we have a conflict. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yep. I
You
think it will
work on
good
this?
to keep the conversation going, the dialogue going. So.
And can I just ask one question? I know you're tight on time.
Sure.
Your committee, Deb, is there going to be a recommendation to the board to have any considerations this year, 2026, or is that going to be out? I just ask because...
Yes, what we're doing is working on gathering information on what the options are for Harrison. And then in June, our hope is that we will go to the voters and ask the voters if they would like us to begin the withdrawal process.
Okay,
And depending on what they say, we go forward or we're done.
right, get it. No, that's where I thought you were, but I didn't know. I didn't ask anybody.
Obviously, dependent on that site selection as part of
That
the
has
process.
a lot to do with.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. And if I knew, you and I talked about this. I said, Phil, if you find out before me, you tell me and I'll do the same. We just still don't know, so.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take a moment if anybody has a question from the public. No? Hopefully, we can move right along. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
He'll be back. And he'll be back for a return engagement in the future.
Yeah, can't face it.
Thank you. Next item is public participation, non-agenda items. So anyone from the public who would like to speak on the topic?
Did you want to let Harrison go first?
I think.
You want to do the boost?
We could do the first.
Why don't we do the boosters first?
Yeah.
We'll do the boosters first.
All right.
Right, I'm sorry.
So I have for you an insurance policy saying that we can go on, that we and our volunteers can go on the property at the dump and sort the bottles. Transfer station, sorry. And it does list the town of Harrison as an additionally insured, and I'm just going to leave the whole policy because I didn't want to do just parts.
Thank you.
Who wants that?
Thank you. I'm not sure wanting is the right term, but I'll
There you
accept it.
go.
All right, now you accept that. We are going to donate $2,500 to reside and put new doors in the food booth,
Nice.
if that works for you.
Thank you.
It sounds like, do we need to, works for the board?
Yeah.
Do we need to vote on
Yes,
it?
we have to vote on it.
Yeah, we'll make a motion in a minute.
Okay,
Okay.
who would you like this made out to?
Well, we have to...
Nobody personal now.
Tyler Harrison.
Town of Harrison.
Yeah, hold on.
Hold on until we vote.
Okay, there you go. I will.
You don't have a
I
pen
make a
anymore.
motion.
I do.
Let me stop you for a second. So, before you leave, I think, Mr. Lyons, I want to thank you for the effort you put in to get us to this point.
We've been like 8 different insurance companies at once, and most of them laughed at us, say, you want what? You got it, and yeah, she got it, I should
No,
say.
I think it's important, I think, for the board members to feel like we've covered all the bases in terms of what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Minimize risk to the town and obviously to the volunteers who help you out. So it's been a long process and I just want to say I think we appreciate it. We do.
And we'll do our best to be there on a regular schedule.
Which
will be.
didn't want to bring that up, that's sort of the other part of the agreement
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
is
We'll figure it out.
good.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. So,
We're getting more volunteers, more people joining
well,
us.
you know, one of the things we might think of is putting a little better signage up on them.
Well, yes, we were going to do that if it was possible, because we had a nice sign, but your
Okay.
boys took it down, cut it up, threw it away.
They got all
Either you
poles.
put it up or we'd like to have
Okay,
a new sign.
okay, we'll put that on John's to-do list, take a look at what we can do to better publicize, how the money's.
And we're gonna put up a little box that shows how much
Oh, yeah.
we
Right.
raised. I mean, this year
Yeah,
we
right.
gave away, what, 14,000
Yeah, so.
and change
Yes.
for kids.
And
All
again, I
for
think
kids.
just to sort of compliment you, I think going back, that was one of the things we wanted to be sure we had in order is
Yeah.
how the money
Where it
where it
goes.
came and where it went. And obviously you have a lot to brag about in terms of the benefits of the town.
Yeah, it makes sense that people want to know where it goes. I don't,
Oh, I
right,
understand.
it's, yeah.
Good.
I mean, I've been involved since 1976 on the board.
Do we have something on like the town website or somewhere to
And we did
brag?
put it in the
Right.
town newsletter like
Newsletter,
recently.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, we put it in.
and it's on our Facebook page as well, so. yeah.
Yep. All right.
So, let's just hold a second and
Okay.
I'll accept a motion to accept the donation from the Boosters Club.
I make a motion to accept the $2,500 from the Boosters Club to side and put doors on the snack shack at Crystal Lake Park.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the donation from the Boosters Club. All in favor?
Thank you.
So you can sign the check now.
It's fine. I'm gonna make it up to myself. Down the Harris.
Wonderful, thank you very much,
Yes,
on behalf of the board and the town.
And just volunteers will be doing the work side, doing the work on that building.
Okay,
She's the money
so,
woman over there.
Which I'll be, hopefully Nate and I will coordinate
okay,
volunteers.
so, again, just work with
Yeah, I'll work with John and Maureen.
and, in terms of the logistics.
Yep.
And volunteer coverage. I haven't read the insurance policy, but we'll check the fine print
No, for that,
and make sure that the volunteers in behalf of the Boosters Club are covered regardless of location.
Well, that won't have anything to do with the boosters. We'll pay, Maureen looked into work being done, and it'll be $3 per person.
Okay, so we should, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So we may, is there a schedule worked out for doing the work yet?
Well,
Not yet,
it
okay.
will be done before
Rec starts.
rec starts.
Okay.
Okay. And so, but we'll be
All right,
saving
so
quite a
we'll
bit of
just,
money.
yep, so we'll just make sure John's got the logistics worked out in terms of how the actual work will be. I'll work with John.
I'll work with John on that.
Yeah. Good. Any other questions on this? Happy to see it come to a successful conclusion, hopefully to community's satisfaction as well as ours. So back to public participation.
We have one more.
We have one more.
Christmas in Harrison.
Christmas.
And she's,
I'm sorry.
she's sitting here with.
What's this item?
I can wait for
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
So we're moving the event approval, we're gonna move that up on the agenda and we'll cover it. Yep.
I think everybody knows who I am, but BM Sessions with Christmas in Harrison, and we have our permit for the 5K, Christmas in July 5K in your packets, so we're just here in case you have any questions.
So questions from the board. Flip down to tab at the end.
First one on the new business.
yeah. My only question is not for him directly. It's just, who contacts the fire department to coordinate the road closure?
So we have in the past, well, we have followed up, so permits accepted or
Yeah.
approved, and then we will follow up, but I don't know anybody
Yeah,
else on the board
is
does.
there someone from the town who reaches out?
Kristen gets this and then she sends it to me.
Perfect. Thank you.
No changes from,
No
Yeah.
changes. It's pretty much a fundraiser for the Maine event. Although with price increases, it's starting to look more like a community event versus a fundraiser. So we use the capital FUN for fun raiser. But no, this is the fourth,
Yep.
this would be the fourth year, so. And I know that it's a little bit of an inconvenience to close the road for the kids' fun run. And we've tossed around ideas with the board of maybe trying to find a different solution for that so that the road isn't closed for 20 minutes. But it is just nothing that we have come up with yet. And we don't want to not do the kids' fun run because Christmas in Harrison is about the kids. So if we take that off, then it kind of like defeats the purpose. So. But I just wanted the board to know that. We know it's an inconvenience to have the road closed, but for safety purposes and to do the event.
okay,
The only thing to note is because it's the same day as one of the pancake breakfasts, so the road is closed for people to get there.
Yeah.
to the pancake breakfast.
Yep.
We do have a plan to reach out to the Lions Club this
Yep.
year to try to work together to maybe get some of our runners to visit the pancake breakfast so that, you know,
And people are-
we're working
as long as people
together
are aware,
versus
right,
like, yeah, and we're gonna do our best this year also as like the select board, school board member that was up here saying that people don't read things. Like, we struggle with the same thing, so we're gonna do our best to try to get the word out there that the road will be closed, but if you're not paying attention to it, then what are you gonna do? But we'll do our best to get the word out.
Sure.
No, it's a great event. I
This
love
is
it.
40
I love
years.
it.
This is
I love it.
40 Christmas in Harrison. We're celebrating 40 years this year, so theme is ruby red and
Yep. Is there any other questions or comments? Entertain a motion to approve the event application.
I make a motion that we approve the event application for the Christmas in Harrison Fun Run on July 12th.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the fun run on July 12th. All in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, once again, back to public participation. Here comes Scott.
Thank you all. Scott Ramsdale, 17 Smith Street. Follow up on an email I sent you all on the 13th of this month. No fun at all, asking about how we can allocate funding for a variety of things. Most importantly, I think, as you know, the comprehensive plan is going to require some commitment on our part to actually implement things that we'll find in the next 14, 15 months right now before we present the final plan actually at the June 2027 town meeting. This is kind of pivoting to change. We know that's just not really feasible to come up with funding for a plan that isn't going to be published for another year and a half, but we think, or 15 months. But we think that the importance of having some mechanism in place for implementation is critical for success here. And if that means things done in tandem with a comprehensive plan, via the planning board, for example, this may still allow us an opportunity to consider earmarking something for some manner of the specific request I'm sort of still working on now is considering the possibility of a consultant, part-time municipal planner. As we all know, almost impossible to find, really difficult to do, but it would be a shame if we come up with an opportunity where we can actually make something happen with all the work that we're going to put in and the community's going to put in on this to have a mechanism in place that is going to be funded for a possibility of making that happen. The downside of not doing something like that is we can try to figure it out in 27. But then we no longer have a comprehensive plan committee, we no longer have a mechanism in place to kind of keep these things rolling, and I think it would behoove us to figure out how we can earmark it or what sort of work I need to perform to get an earmark in there so that we can take advantage of, if we do affordable housing, the state and federal funding that goes with it, the grant writing opportunities, all of those sort of things that follow in line could easily have a substantial payback, not only for the initial investment here, but for the future and the taxpayers' benefit. Respectfully submitted. Your input is greatly appreciated.
So have you been to the budget committee? Has this been already brought up at the budget committee? Is that?
Yeah, it was, again, a little clunky on my part.
Sorry.
Came up, we started with you, I went to the budget committee, glad I did, because there was some questions about the comprehensive plan. Obviously, a lot of that goes, is tied hand in hand with what we're doing with the capital improvement plan, downtown revitalization. But their strong recommendation was to come back and, get this on as a future agenda item of the select board.
So what's our plan?
Well, let me just clarify. So
Okay.
there's a couple of interrelated requests here.
Okay.
There's the capital side, and there's the capital budget for the upcoming year, and the capital plan for the next 5 years. In contrast to that, there is the operating budget for next year, and then one we haven't talked about, which is the year after. So the FY27 and then the FY28 operating plan, where things such as a planner would enter into the conversation as opposed to the capital request side of things. So there's a number of interrelated topics that I think Scott has brought to the budget committee, has been in front of the select board. And part of what we need to do is perhaps decide on what sort of direction to give them. So there's public hearings coming up on the operating budget for next year. We'll talk a little later, more work that has to be done on the capital plan because we didn't finish our workshop the last time. So there's several places to have opportunities. I think the only other thing I would probably suggest to you is that you would need to, my own opinion is I think we would need to see something from your committee as a tangible request to enter into things such as the capital plan or the operating budget. And it could be that some of the thoughts you have are for the operating budget, not for the upcoming year, but the year after. So in January of next year, when we have the operating budget process starts again, for example, you may have a very strong case for saying we need to allocate a half-time planner because the plan will have been developed and probably pretty close to final form. I think there may be a little struggle right now because it's a little unclear what form the request would take and what the results of the deliverable will be. But I don't want to discourage you from proactively planning for things. I do recall, I think, one of the issues still to resolve will be the implementation approach after the plan is finalized. And that may very well become a budget item in next year's operating budget discussion, for example. Right now, I think it's a little unclear what form that would take.
Well, Mr. Chair, some of the development of this comprehensive plan is obviously going to yield us some opportunities. The planning board, which has been eager and has struggled, as I think all of you know, to get our ordinances even revised and to implement new ordinances, that opportunity exists now. And as opposed to hiring an engineer to do feasibility studies and this sort of thing, having an actual consultant to work with the planning board in doing things that are developing in the comprehensive plan that we're finding broad support for here and gives us the opportunity to do the background and the study on this so that we have a tangible plan of action come June of '27, I think just gives us nothing but advantage. I mean, again, it is a commitment of money, and without putting the cart before the horse. The plan has not been published, so to speak. But the activities building this plan, I think, are going to yield opportunities for the planning board or any other entity or device we find most appropriate to apply. And the money would be, obviously, would be approved by the select board, how it's
So,
applied.
the only other thing I'll just mention for the board is to remind them in April, we vote on the town warrant. So that is another opportunity, I'll describe it as an opportunity. If, for example, the comprehensive planning committee thought that they were far enough along to be able to form an article, but that would be outside of the operating budget, for example.
Right.
So those are all things I think that the committee will have to hash out. Questions for Scott while he's here?
Yeah, you mentioned, in the email, you said you wanted $100,000. It's just, for me, it's difficult to approve any money unless we know what it's going for. You say it's going for a planner, well, how much is a planner gonna cost us? Okay. I'm also hearing things that we want a moratorium on subdivisions, we want this, we want that. Well, who's coming up with that? Because we haven't even got any feedback from the town yet, and all of a sudden I'm hearing, we want this, we want this, we want this. Is that coming from just the committee though? Because
Is this a Facebook dialogue or?
no, it's just people coming up to me saying,
So it's-
we're hearing that, especially after the meeting the other night, that we have to put a moratorium on subdivisions until we designate the areas where we want to protect.
And I'll say that was not a committee discussion.
That's not a committee. I think the planning board, Mike, I think was, some of that was.
Well, I'm just saying,
open up,
it's going out there, so it's like, people are, it's getting a negative, I think it's getting a negative, I don't know where it's coming from, but I think it's getting the comprehensive plan's getting a negative vibe because it seems like things are being done.
Well, let me just correct you. I think maybe things are being said, but we've run into
Said.
that before. So we've gone through a few years of things being said that aren't necessarily substantiated by a vote of a committee, as an example.
Yeah.
So I would just say, if you hear anything, certainly we want to refer them to the comprehensive committee members. And we have our
intent, right?
And that would be one way to either confirm a rumor or to have it negated. That we have minutes from the committee meetings that will be available in public. So, but I mean, as far as I know, no decisions have been reached.
Yeah,
and you're months away from putting things down on paper in form of a draft form. So.
I have a question. So if I recall, when we had that special meeting and we needed to have some funds allocated for the comp plan, wasn't that only to get us through June? Don't you need more for next year? No.
That was for the whole plan.
It was for the whole thing?
Yes.
You're just anticipating future that we would need an operational person to help implement? Okay, thank you.
Just for an
Okay.
implementation mechanism.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Any comments?
And so sorry, one more question. So the debate is whether or not we should create a warrant for this year in anticipation that we may need the consultant
We'll still need
sooner?
I'm sorry.
Please,
The committee would have to bring that to the board here yet.
Okay,
saying,
okay.
Right,
We would like a
I didn't
warrant.
mean to mislead you. It
Yes,
wouldn't
so-
be our discussion to do that. It would be the committee's discussion to decide if they need to do something over and above what has been done thus far.
Okay.
Yes.
Before, because you have to decide now, because otherwise you have to wait a whole year? Is that
Yep.
it? Okay, got it, thank you.
In a sense, yes. In a sense,
It could go into the budget committee discussions
yes.
starting November or December, whenever
Yeah.
they start.
Okay, yep,
The next opportunity to get money may line up with the timeline when they intend to implement the entire plan.
June of 2027 or July of
Yeah.
okay,
2027.
yep. So what do you need from us now?
So,
Just feasibility. planning board application, I mean, the entire planning board, virtually the entire planning board is on the comprehensive plan, so there certainly is some common efforts there, but the planning board is a established entity in the town to be actually implementing some of these things again that will be coming up with our public participation or survey results. I got to put a plug in for April 11th, 10 to 12 p.m. I hope you'll all be here for
Yeah,
that.
I have cards. I have it as part of my.
And I'm sorry, yes, and Kristen obviously will be bringing that up as well. But there is, because I think that also is an effective mechanism, and it's an established one. Our committee is gaining good steam here. Kristen and I spent a long time talking about it this morning. We've got some really good opportunities there, but we've got an effective mechanism also with planning board.
So I would just make a quick comment that maybe one of the things for the grants planning would be to just have some discussion about trying to be sure that too much gets out in the way of rumors, is that our word, through the word of mouth process. So you just may need to emphasize that.
Right.
He's hearing different things. So.
And also going back to the warrant article, would it be better for it to come from the planning board if we're looking for a consultant to help the planning board look at ordinances and make sure that's driving forward? Maybe that might be where the need is quicker than the comprehensive plan.
Absolutely. And this planner is not solely for that purpose. A part-time planner consultant along doing this is a valuable position that many towns are seeking right now for obvious reasons, bring expertise, project management skill, and specificity.
So I think we've given you a few thoughts.
Okay.
Just another consideration is, I know in some communities, they don't necessarily fund a position for the full year. So this might be something that, in his, in this request, that it could be, there's funds in there for it, but it wouldn't necessarily go into effect until maybe the third quarter of the fiscal year or something like that. So that's something to think about also as well, is how it gets, at what point in the year it gets actually starts.
Because the spring of 2027 would be an ideal opportunity.
So just to be clear, we're trying to give Scott some ideas.
Right.
Scott, give us requests at this point, I think.
And we can, in whatever format is available to that, certainly it doesn't have to be something we're drawing to conclusions tonight. I just want to get it on the agenda so that we consider what we might possibly do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have our ears, so you got your message for us. And if we have no other public participation, we'll move on to the next agenda item, the consent agenda. We have some routine items, the approval of the warrants, which I think have been approved, and the approval of the minutes for February 26th, 2026.
I make a motion?
You can make a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. No questions, all in favor? 5-0, consent agenda. Old business, moving down to fee updates. So just to remind the board, we made some significant progress and stopped when we ran out of energy, I think. John, do you want to tell us where we're going to pick up here?
Yeah, well, we got as far as, I know we didn't quite get to Parks and Recreation. Because we got as far as code enforcement.
I believe the stalking and such.
Yes.
Yes, that sounds about right, actually.
Yeah. John, do you just want to, just briefly, just make sure the board, we're looking at the right format and the budget, has the budget committee numbers?
Yep, and this is from the budget committee. So we wanted to confirm that their recommendations are getting passed along. There was a document in the last meeting that looked like some of the requests might have got lost in the shuffle. So you may just want to just review over what their requests were in the section that we already went over, which would be the first, like the first page to first. First two pages, double-sided. And then that's where we will be picking up with the, I believe, Parks and Recreation.
So my recollection is we stopped at mooring ordinances.
Yes.
Got all the way through permanent.
We stopped before we started on mooring ordinances and then we stopped.
Correct. And so the only information, to be sure the board has all the information, is there was a public hearing on an ordinance change for moorings. And so there'll be a vote at the town meeting on fees.
So moorings won't be part of this, this process this year, it'll be for next year, because
Well, the non-shorefront and the non-residents can be discussed. It's just the shorefront that can't be discussed, correct?
Yes, so to Mike's point, so the shorefront stays the same until the vote at town meeting, and then would then allow the board to have some discussion next year, this time. So we have non-shorefront and non-resident lines on here, which are not affected by the ordinance change.
and it looks like fees committee recommendation was $250 for non-shorefront, $500 for non-resident of Harrison. Budget committee recommendation of leaving the current $200 for non-shorefront and $300 for non-resident of Harrison.
So as the board understands the couple of recommendations for those two lines.
I have an issue with the non-shorefront.
So the applications are already out, so
So we can't change
You
that.
can't change it
it's
anyways.
going to be kind of hard to try and reel that back in.
With these numbers on them?
With the current, with what our existing numbers are, which would be 200.
So we should just move on from mooring ordinances.
I think we should. The other thing is that we would be in a better position after that ordinance is passed to know then
Exactly.
what's fair and equitable for everybody involved.
Yep.
So if the board were in agreement, we can leave the fees as is.
Agree.
Those two items, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we will be spending more time on that next year at this time. So moving on to junkyard licenses. No change. No
No
changes.
change.
Leave that as sounds like no further discussion needed. Parks and Recreation Program, the resident or taxpayer of Harrison, 8-week per session charge has been $400. The fee committee recommended $600, and the budget committee recommended $500, if I'm reading that correctly.
Just so you're aware, the 600 just cuts even with the cost of the camp.
Okay, so full cost recovery, yeah. The budget committee seemed to be in agreement on the second child and third child fees. So back to the charge per child. So we have the option to keep it at $400, or to raise it to some other amount.
I think 400 is not enough.
Okay.
I think an increase is justified.
And I'm thinking that the budget committee recommended 500 just so it's not a total shock at the increase. My guess.
I think as Kristen said,
Yeah.
600 would be a full cost recovery, and we can just decide whether that's something we need to do this year.
If we don't have full cost recovery, how is the rest of the costs recovered?
It goes in, it comes out of the rec budget.
Comes out
Oh,
of the
okay.
budget.
Okay.
So there has been some discussion that eventually we would try and move to fully funding
Yeah.
So I-
rec. But
how did the fee committee come up with the number that $600 covers the cost? Is that based on?
That was based on Maureen pulling numbers, I think it was for the previous year's camp, and what Bree spent and what it costs between the activities, the counselors, the lifeguards. So this, then figuring out how many kids we have.
So was that,
It was about $600.
was it based on the actual enrollment or max capacity?
Nope, the enrollment.
So you're factoring in the payroll for the counselors, right?
Yes,
So,
and
yeah.
the lifeguards, yep.
So, which we do have, we do have that in the budget. But obviously, if you're looking to become more self-funded, then that would be more ideal to not have to use the money out of it.
Yes.
Towns near us, Bridgeton and Oxford, for example, charge much more than we charge, upwards of
Yeah.
$1,100 a season for 8 weeks.
Yes.
They charge it.
This is the lowest anywhere in the.
Oxford charges $155 per week for a resident and $175 a week for non-residents. So our fees are much less than other rec programs. I don't know if the programs are comparable, but we charge a fraction of what other towns charge.
I learned what it costs to send a kid to daycare too. And this is a steal.
I mean, at
Even at
$400,
Even at 600 it would be.
yeah, it's it's $10 a day at $400 for the season. We charge $10 per day. That's completely inadequate.
So it sounds like we should talk about whether we want to increase it by some amount, $50 or $100.
How many kids do we have usually? Harrison kids?
They're mostly Harrison kids, Harrison or Waterford. I think they're only, Maureen, do you recall, like 2, 3 from out of town?
Yeah, there wasn't any.
Not many.
And
And I'm sorry, just to be clear, I think the out of town is subject to availability, in other words, they wouldn't.
Yeah, they haven't been maxed out,
Right.
so that has not been an issue. I will say, after sitting through the meeting earlier today, I would be a little more hesitant in raising the price too much. I think there was some concerns from parents last year that I think if we add on a big price increase, it might really turn some parents off. I think we want to get things a little more stable with what I've heard.
So, do you have a suggestion? Are you saying keep it the same or increase it very moderately?
If we're going to increase it, I would say increase it moderately, but I'm not even sure how comfortable that some parents will be with that.
Okay.
how many parents were,
I think there were about 10, right, 10 parents in there? Or parents or people who were concerned.
I'm just also concerned about providing a program at cost of the taxpayer.
Yes, I hear that too.
Was there any discussion about the scholarship program available?
So the scholarship program, from what I've seen, is based on people making donations to having those scholarships available. I know that in the past, the Lions Club has donated a couple. Personal citizens like Matt Frank have donated some. The Boosters Club. The church, yep. So those are also available too.
And those are based on,
The full price of, so it would be the, whatever we charge for the camp,
Okay.
plus the field trips.
So someone submits an application indicating a need?
Yep.
And what about all the signs up at Radar? Where does that money go?
It's supposed to be going into the rec department bucket fund.
So,
Like sponsors, is that what?
yeah, sponsors and stuff.
It-
What do we have in that fund? Do we have any idea? I mean, just because,
I
can we
think, what do we
pull,
have? Do we have
can we
10
pull a
signs up
couple
there?
grand out of that to keep this at $500 or $400 or something, you know, for this year,
Yep.
since
So-
we have some, you know?
So do we refer to it as a revolving account or a special fund? Special revenue, okay.
Because I thought our goal was to make recs
Self-sufficient. as-
self-sufficient.
As point in time.
So,
Okay. So currently that fund is used to pay for the materials for the summer programs.
okay.
So let me go back to kind of what we're talking about here.
Well, the other thing we can throw out to Mike's point is other towns do put out sponsorships just for their summer rec programs. And, you know, if it's a business, then the business can add it to their t-shirt. So I don't know if we're too far or too close to camping launch to do something like that. But I don't know, John, if that's something
I mean, do the kids get t-shirts?
they do. Yes.
Can we find out what those costs? I mean, if we can work on trying to get some of the money through sponsors just for camp, we could probably keep this. I'd like to just know how much we would need to keep it at, you know, so how many kids?
I mean, if there's
Do we have-
65 kids, $100 a week is $6,500.
I-
We have to raise $6,500 to impact the cost by $100.
I think.
That's a lot of money to raise.
I don't think so. I mean, sponsors, you could raise at least a couple grand through sponsorships. You have Crystal Lake Park, all the signage down there, you could sell those signs for $300 instead of Radar for $100. And you could get, you know, just for summer program. Or put a plaque on the side of the snack shack advertising.
Do the parents have to pay all at once, or can they can do it in payments? I think it's such a bargain. I don't have a problem with raising it by $100 for the season.
I agree.
It's such a bargain. And then we can work on that,
Yeah,
like you're
work on-
saying.
Yeah, to try to.
Try to charge extra for field trips on top of the,
Yes,
okay.
But they can go or not go.
that's correct.
Right, okay. Maybe the sponsorships
Sponsorships could
help
help
with
that.
that, for sure.
So that some kids aren't left out because they can't afford to go to a
The
field
field
trip.
trips,
you
I think
know?
they were averaging $20 a field trip. They're not that expensive.
Do we currently offer the weekly option, the rec, or is it all season, or? I
There
don't-
was some, it's not in here, but I think there was a weekly.
So we allow Harrison children to sign up week by week?
You have a rate, there's a rate for it.
Yes.
It says here 125 a week.
But that's non-residents, that's.
That's non-resident.
Sorry.
for weekly Harrison residents.
Yeah. So signing up for an individual week is an option.
Yes, some kids can't afford to go the whole time. They go
I
for
just
a
didn't,
couple of days.
I've never known it was an option.
Is there a thought that we want to change from the $400 to something else, which sounds like we want to, if we do, we want to consider it to be a moderate,
I
a
have,
significant increase?
Nate and Deb said 500, and I'll go with that recommendation. I'll agree to that. And see if we can come up with, and see if rec, I'll talk with racing, if we can, and John, to see if we can maybe do some advertising somewhere down there to maybe, you know, that can go into the field trip budget or something, you know.
But a year ago, this board authorized rec to do fundraising,
Yeah.
so
I'm
the
gonna-
opportunity is there already.
Yep.
Yes.
John, does Bree have any fundraising activities on her schedule?
For
for summer rec.
Like, doing signs or any other type of fundraising in general?
Other than the signs, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I was gonna offer her a spot up at Music Heels for a fundraiser this summer, so hopefully they'll accept that and do that, so.
I think we have to support the increase to $500.
We do, I just want to
Yes.
give my opinion, which is, I think we should try and tie it to a sort of a gradual increase over time. And I'm just, I mean, if you
I
think
think
of
people-
percentages, I guess I'm thinking more in the $25 kind of category, or $50 category,
Yeah.
than the $100 category.
I think people are gonna be asking, what are they gonna get for the extra $100?
For the extra money, right.
Do you want to include this swim program?
They don't have a certified instructor right now.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a fee increase that we can relate more to the general cost of living in the budget
Yep.
going up would be easier to defend than a significant increase. So.
Still a bargain.
Yes.
It is a bargain.
It is a bargain. And so, yeah, the trick
I think
is,
it's just gonna be the shock to the parents
Who complained?
They just need to realize that $500 for an 8-week program is a deal. They need to do the math and realize that it's very inexpensive compared to daycare or other options.
When's the last time we increased that number? Any idea?
It's been a long time.
No, I think we went from $300 to $400
Couple of years.
since I've been on the board.
it was 2 or 3 years ago. So my only suggestion would be, I just think $100 is a big leap in 1 year to.
I think a smaller
It's over 8 weeks, it's,
$9.
yeah.
My concern is
$12
just
a week.
the parents I heard today that they're gonna be expecting more for $100 rather
Well,
than, there was a lot of,
Let's try to provide them with more.
Yeah.
$25 a year, it would take a long time to.
Did they have suggestions of what they would like to see? Can any of this?
no, we didn't get into discussions of what the more is. It was, this is like, bring it up to a certain standard.
Okay, well,
We need to have high standards to begin with.
can we tell them that we are going to be bringing up to that standard?
But we need the
That's what
extra
That's what
$100?
the meeting was,
Yep.
was to, go over the concerns and also go over some of what planning has been done and what things are on paper now to show them, so.
Well, our recreation budget is $165,000. The taxpayer funds a lot of the recreation program as it is, and as we increase the fees, we have seen the recreation budget go down in the last few years. And I think, a fee for service is how we're looking to move, across other departments as well. I think it's appropriate that we charge a fee for the service and not burden the taxpayers year after year.
This is something we should resolve tonight, right? Yeah, okay, I just wanted to be sure that.
I think we should bump it up to $500 obviously this is going to be going out in a letter to the people who are gonna, kids signing up, and then explain to them exactly what we're going to be doing this year that's going to be different than last year. And hopefully they'll say, okay.
So, I would say it sounds like this is something we should do a motion on. If somebody has a motion, they
We
want to
haven't
make.
done a motion on anything.
I know we haven't, but I think we should do it on this.
I make a motion that we go up on the fee for the 8-week summer camp for residents from $400 to $500.
So, looking for a second on that motion.
I will second it.
Motion's been made and seconded, open for discussion. Anybody have any other comments they would like to make? If not, I'll make one. I'll vote against the motion. I think we should do an increase. I think it should be in the context that we want to slowly make this self-funding but without any undue burden in any one year, and I just think $100 is, based on a $400 fee, is a little extreme. So I'll be voting against the motion. So if there are no other comments, all in favor of the motion? 3, all opposed to the motion? 2, 3 to 2. The motion carries. So the fee is $500. Is that
For the first child.
for the first child? The others, are we changing any of them? The recommendations on the budget committee seem to be, keep them the same. Did we want to change any of those?
I think the $100 on the first child is sufficient. I don't want to whack them with $100 on each child. That's $300 for somebody who's probably, you know.
So if we can do it slowly, if there are no other comments, we can leave those the same and move on. Okay?
And John, I'm more than happy to help Bree with some of the fundraising, to try to help this too.
And that's the note.
Yep.
Non-resident?
For non-resident, non-taxpayer, $125 a week,
Is there a typo on the right, or is it? The
$375.
budget committee's recommending $375 a week?
That's what it says.
Did we?
Is it?
Oh, that's the budget committee?
That's the budget committee.
Yeah,
The
we
fee
can make
committee,
that.
fee committee is 200 a week.
200.
$200 a week. Budget committee said $375.
Or is that for the whole season?
$375.
No, that's a
No.
week.
Oh,
So basically $1,600 for a non-resident for summer camp.
Well, that's even more than that.
What?
Even more than that.
You mean if they,
That's $3,000.
Oh, no, I'm saying for what the fee committee recommended, $200 would make it $1,600. They recommended $375, which would be basically double, which would be, yeah.
so we $125 a week, the fee committee recommendation is $200 a week.
$200 a week is $1,600 for a non-resident. I think that covers the costs. And some.
I think that's appropriate.
200?
Yep.
Any other suggestions?
That's higher than any town around us. 175, Bridgeton and Oxford both charge 175 a week for non-taxpayers.
Then
We only have a few.
then that's fine. I'd say 175 would still cover the cost of 600. So I'd hate to go, you know, I'd rather stay the same price as other towns than, you know, it's covering the cost of the camp.
You're suggesting 175?
175 if Nate says all the other towns are doing that.
I would
I'd
support
hate to
that.
lose a
that
couple,
makes
I'd hate to
Any
lose a
other
couple
comments?
kids.
no, that makes sense.
You know.
Sounds like 175 for non-taxpayers has been suggested.
Do you need a motion on
I
that?
think we'll do a motion just to be, just so we're clear. So do I have a motion to set it at 175?
I make a
I'm sorry.
motion.
You have a question or a recommendation or a suggestion?
So that's the weekly rate for non-residents, right?
Yes.
I think you should make a weekly rate for residents.
You think we should? We don't have one currently.
No, we were using the 125, but now I don't think 175 is the law for a resident for 1 week, so you want.
I think it's 8 weeks, we're gonna charge 100 a week for residents. I think a reduction of 100 a week for residents and it may be appropriate.
100 a week for residents and 175 for non-residents weekly, as weekly fees.
That would seem to make sense.
Yes.
That would actually be a reduction from what we currently charge, but,
Few people took the option.
yeah.
But we're covering our costs at 100, you know, if you figure it weekly.
So 100 for residents, 175 for non-residents.
I'll make a motion for non-residents to be 175 a week and residents to be $100.
So just to clarify, this is non-taxpayers and taxpayers. residents, non-residents, just confusing verbiage.
For the one you just, the $100 a week
Yeah.
would be for residents. Residents
Or a
and
taxpayer.
And/or taxpayer.
And
So taxpayer
just so you're
not-
aware, she has no way of proving where people live. So just so you're aware,
Their registered address.
yes, it's
When
whatever
they
address
file
they
the
put down.
registration.
And there are cases where maybe a grandparent lives in town, so.
Yes,
or a
just so
family
you're
member,
aware,
or a
yes.
friend or something.
I
A
do-
friend,
I do
yes.
know examples, yes.
Okay.
So it might be
second.
splitting hairs because they could just put down a Harrison address, but.
Yep, $100 for residents, or for $100 for taxpayers, $175 for non-taxpayers.
I second Mike's motion for that.
Motion is made and seconded, all in favor? 5-0. I'll leave it to John and Maureen to make sure we get the right wording down.
Like I stated before, there is a lot of discrepancy in resident and taxpayer and non-resident, non-taxpayer. That's, we need to make sure there's consistency in this fee schedule.
Moving on. Next item I have is the boat launch fees.
We may want to save that till next year, after we've had a chance to do some work with Maine DOT on the planning process, so.
There was a proposal to add a fee for swim program that didn't exist currently.
And we don't have a swim instructor, so.
But what if we were to come up with one between now and then, do we, I don't mean to go back and cut.
No, that's all right, that's all right. I went by that because I saw the zero,
Nothing was.
But you're right.
I don't think there should, if
So it was-
if you're a participant of rec,
It
there's no
was, so
charge.
this was for non, like, people who just wanted the swim class.
Join the
So-
swim program.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't do the summer camp, but you can go in and get swim lessons.
I would agree to charge for that.
That's daily?
It would be whatever the program is, I don't know, they do a sort of, like, the swim.
Do they swim every day?
Okay, 3 weeks, okay,
3 weeks?
One week at 1 hour a day for 3 weeks or something like that.
something like that, yeah. I don't remember exactly what the,
I think $100, I think the same rate as a weekly. I know the kids get more, but where can you get swim lessons for 5 hours
I think
a week for
this was similar to what Bridgeton
$100?
charged.
$100.
It's only for an hour.
Yeah, so 5 hours a week,
No, it's not.
right?
it not?
And it's an hour a day? It's not an hour a day?
It was just like rotating type of thing.
Then
I know,
So the fee committee
I don't have
and
the full PowerPoint here
and the
anymore,
budget committee
so.
is suggesting we charge,
we can come back to
Anyone-
that to
Yeah, we'll
another
come back to it,
meeting.
yeah.
okay,
Because that's not as
Well, I just
essential.
think if we were to get a swim instructor and offer swim lessons to children who are not part of the rec program, we should charge a fee.
Does Bridgeton? or
Yes, this is the
Surra-
same, I think this is the same that Bridgeton
Okay.
charges.
so, I mean,
100?
so one suggestion is we wait to see how that turns out.
Yeah.
And if there's a swim program, John will come to us with,
What the cost should be, yeah.
Okay.
okay? Another to-do on your to-do list. He's ignoring me. Okay, so the boat launch, we were talking a minute ago about how there's maybe some overlap with the DOT study regarding traffic congestion and parking and so on, and that we should maybe defer trying to implement a program until we get the results of that study.
How about Crystal Lake Park? Maybe not the boat ramp, but do we have parking? I mean, just,
So I think our problem is we have to worry about the congestion, then instituting a fee and the collection of the fee is going to charge. And I guess, John, the study that the DOT is going to do, will it, does it extend up to the Crystal Lake? Crystal Lake
I
Park?
would think, we actually talked about that
Right.
today in the meeting, that he understands that that's
Part of the
sort
Part
of
of the
part
corridor
of the village,
So
so.
we should wait on that then too.
Well, I think that's a suggestion that they may give us some recommendations on.
I think there was something more in the I thought in the capital improvement plan for structures to help with the paying of the fees.
In next year's capital,
I think so.
or
Recall.
in the capital improvement plan as a whole.
It was listed as one of the items in there.
Okay.
I just don't remember what.
I have a question. We hire the 2 sheriffs. Can they do parking?
That's a good question, because parking those are local ordinances, so, in their county, so I'm not sure.
I'm just saying, if we
they-
did some type of, self-pay at the Crystal Lake,
An honor system?
not an honor system, but you scan it on your phone just like in Portland, and the company charges a fee, and then we say dump stickers will be exempt you, and so officer drives through there, sees, no?
I don't think they, because that would be a local.
You can, like, what we're gonna be doing this, the no parking signs at the boat launch, need to have the phone number of the towing company. Because anybody can just call the towing company and say, hey, there's cars parked in the no parking spot, and they come and they tow it, so it's.
Well, the towing company could go through and tow any vehicles that don't have a sticker on them?
That's what some towing companies do, they patrol lots and they tow.
They just have a
vehicles.
contract with the town of Harrison?
So I think the suggestion was to defer instituting something till we get a little more information on what the potential impact may be.
I'll support that.
Is that-
Yeah.
Yep.
is that fine?
Yep.
So that we'll keep it on the radar screen, and I guess once we confirm the scope of the study and see whether we're getting information from the state on traffic and congestion, parking, we'll revisit this in particular and see if we want to do something for next year. With the fact in mind that we don't want to lose sight of it as an opportunity to help pay for some of the
Well, it's
infrastructure.
not even paying, it's that, I know we got federal funds for that, but, it's a shame that you go down there and, I think a lot of times there's no parking for our residents because other towns are coming in and taking, we can charge a fee for non-residents to use it, and I just think,
Okay, so again, the other aspect of it is to discourage non-residents
and one
and
thing.
allow, once we sort of address the capacity issue and how much capacity we really have. then
So that's one thing I don't think we can not allow people, non-residents to use it. That's where we can charge them, but we can't say that they can't use it.
Use it, yeah. But that's using the fee to encourage or discourage
Yes,
behavior.
exactly, yep.
Yeah, no, your point well taken, rather than just cost of recovery to help pay for repairs, it's, you're gonna try and influence behavior.
Yep.
But I think we have agreed we'll we'll defer this.
Boat ramps and Crystal Lake Park, all of those?
I think we said both of them, we should wait and at least get,
It was part of the
Yeah.
village.
get the results of the study. Good. Okay,
Because there could be some parking alternatives that come out of that study, parking recommendations that come out of that, so.
Yep. We still want to plow forward and do more fees?
Yeah, there's not much here. So the radar signs, what was the next one? Which didn't change. And then to charge to use the upper or lower baseball fields out there was added in.
The signs, so the signs that are at the transfer station will be moved back to radar, that's the plan, yeah. Okay, and so the difference is to institute a fee for use of the fields.
Yep, and that's to try to recoup the cost of maintaining and lining the fields there.
Okay,
How would those be collected? What's the plan?
So I think it's going through Bree now, is it not, to sign up to use the fields up there for the leagues?
It's going to be, yeah, and that, hopefully, if the budget passes, we get new software, which will greatly help the scheduling process for using radar.
And she's gonna be sending out, Al told me today that Breeze, that he really wanted to get something done, because they're gonna be sending out all their notices and fees, you know, for radar.
So, right now, organizations use the field but don't pay a maintenance fee.
Do they currently, they must have to schedule the use of the field
Yes.
now?
It's going through Rich right now.
To register.
This is even for teams in our town? Town-sponsored?
We don't have any
kids?
We don't have any
town-sponsored
sponsor
teams.
teams.
We don't?
There's no participation.
Oh, that's so sad. Okay, then.
So, do we know from past history what organizations would be?
I had in the, it's all in the PowerPoint presentation, it's not here yet.
Because all of these special elite teams that
Oh,
travel.
right.
Oxford Hills Boosters,
Yeah.
It's just
the
not
Oxford
us,
Hills
it's
Soccer
like,
Organization, and then
high
the
school
baseball
sports
organization.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth, Andy
I mean,
Dowd.
do we?
So,
Just-
I have some
I think
concerns with,
like 6 teams using it, 6 leagues.
I hate to scare anybody away from using that field. It's underutilized as it is. Large asset, we invest a lot of money in it. I'd like to see it used. I also know that the proposal to buy software for the rec department, $3,500, it's a lot of money. We're gonna pay $3,500 a year for software so we can schedule and collect fees to use our fields and probably lose money in the process.
It's going to be used for a lot more than just the scheduling there. It's for her summer rec programs. and
But
all
what,
that.
so there's,
So let me just go back to the question of, you know, when the fee discourage use of the field by organizations. And the trade-off is to help defer the cost of the maintenance of the field.
I am
I
in
think your
support,
voice is-
I do want to raise some revenue, the field, you know, it's a great field to
Sure.
play on. My kids participate in sports, Harrison's fields are beautiful, better than a lot of other towns. But I don't want to deter use of the field. How do you find a happy medium?
Okay.
Do other towns have fields that they charge for?
I don't know.
Did you find that?
I don't know.
It's all in the, yeah, it's in the
all-
presentation,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, see, it's in the notes section.
I'm thinking you must have found that true. That's why you're.
It's, yeah.
That's
and
where
this
this came
was-
from.
Right.
Most towns, for town activities, they don't, again, like we would.
If it was town-
But
town
if it's
program,
not,
yeah.
they charge a fee to cover the costs of liming the fields and all, I mean,
And all the teams that used it last year were sent notices saying, we're going to be charging next year.
Oh, good.
So,
and they were all on board. Some of them even gave money last year
Oh, that's nice.
to help with defray costs.
now if you're, these were the costs in working with Rich, he thought would cover the cost of how long it takes them to maintain the fields, relining it and stuff like that.
Yep,
So that is coming close to covering
okay.
the usage.
So
So we could lower it
Yep.
and just lower the impact of the town.
as you may recall from our conversation on recreation, I'm more in favor of incrementally increasing things rather than too big of a hit at one time.
Or could we just make it 50 per game for both fields, even though the upper one sounds like it's bigger?
It's bigger and it takes them longer, and it's older kids who play there, so.
Some kids beat up more.
So we could, it sounds like there is a sense that we want to try to recover some costs, and whether we want to go with 75 and 50 or something lower.
I just would like to know what, if other towns charge.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the town that charges when no one else does. I wish we had that information.
Yeah,
I think, did John go try to find it?
Yeah,
Do you want
So-
to,
It was over a year ago that I looked
Let me
into all this.
suggest, I think-
So,
can we move on?
Yeah.
I think we could defer
Yeah.
this to, we have another meeting coming up
yep. Okay.
before I think the season gets underway. So, is there?
No, I think
Well, the
that
registrations are going out. and
this
that's
needs
where
to
the
be
cost-
done tonight, but
Got
we
it.
can move on to
Okay.
another item until
Okay.
John comes back with the information.
We look at radar, it costs us tens of thousands of dollars a year to operate radar, and if we collect $500 in fees, it's gonna have a very small impact. I think we need a larger, a bigger plan on how to support radar with fees or higher usage versus charging the local sports teams.
So for the moment, let's move down to other fees, skip that section, finish up other fees. First one is the gazebo, $75.
I like the proposal to reduce currently we only rent for $75 as a 6-hour block. I like the proposal to allow it to be rented by the hour. I think that's beneficial.
So the $15 and $20 non-resident, which is
And then
recommended.
nonprofits are free.
Non-profits for free.
I would support that.
It sounds
Any
good.
questions? Does it sound good? Yep. So there's a consensus on that. So gazebo, we'll do the 15 and the 20 and the nonprofit for free. Cleaning refundable,
No change.
community room, okay, community room, there's a recommendation for a change. From current $25 to $50, no fee for nonprofit.
I don't know how much.
I don't know why we would charge less to use a community room than we would charge to use the gazebo. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it was $25, we doubled it.
I mean, honestly, I would say $50 minimum charge and,
For the,
the use of the community room is, I would think we would charge more than the use of an outdoor gazebo. Community room has cleaning charges involved, bathroom
okay.
facilities, kitchen facility.
Well, what if we said $50 for 4 hours or something? You're saying it's silly that we say $50 per day? It is kind of, do people really rent the community room by the day? Probably not, right?
Probably not. I don't even know that I don't think our policy allows public rental of the community room.
Yeah, it does.
It does, that's why it was $25 before.
The fire station community room?
I think that, I think there was a time when we suspended that, public use of that.
COVID maybe.
I think it's been suspended because it's an EMA, EOC is what I recall, but I'm not sure.
I don't recall.
I'm not sure if that was official or not.
Well, could we do $25 an hour?
I mean, if we just went with the recommendation, knowing that it's not even utilized for rentals. Need more information.
That's fine. Leave it at 50 for now and visit it later.
So 50 is the recommendation of the fee committee and the budget committee
But per day?
per day,
That just seems
as
odd.
opposed to the 25.
25, what was it before? We don't even know, it just says 25.
So it's 25.
Right.
For how much
A
time?
day, probably a day.
Probably for the day.
Yeah.
To get in there, set up, yeah.
I think the intent
I
is
don't
not,
think that there was an hourly
no, I don't think so.
rate attached to it. It was a flat fee.
So, given the maybe lack of apparent use, but the recommendations we have to make it $50 a day, is there a sense that we should do that and move on for now?
Sure.
I'll leave it at 25. It obviously doesn't have a big financial impact.
Yeah, I mean, it costs us $100 a week to clean it.
I was just gonna say that.
So is there a consensus on what you want to do with
I would
this?
say if we're gonna rent it, we need to charge $50 a day.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, I see some heads nodding over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
$50.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go with $50 a day. I don't think we need a motion.
Such a community road policy.
We need to modify the community road policy?
Yeah.
Rental subject
Oh,
to the.
this, I think that's supposed to be
Oh,
tournament. I
Yeah.
think it's supposed to be tournament.
Yes.
Oh, so-
Did you ever?
no, I was gonna say, going back to the fields, this one doesn't have the notes in it, which is where I had all the information.
Okay.
This is just the slides,
Yep.
so we could put it on hold.
So the question, I guess, is how soon do we need to tell people that what the
Al
fact is?
told me we needed to make the decision tonight. How about
Look up.
$50 for,
I know Norway charges for their,
For their per game usage?
well, for their, like, the tennis courts and pickleball, and I don't recall off the top of my head if they were charging for any of their fields. Get to see what she's on.
Okay, I know, let's talk about the baseball first, that's
Well, then I
easier.
Maureen, are you going to look for some information?
So I'm going to give Kristen the PowerPoint.
Oh.
Thank you.
We're getting close to the end.
yeah, we still have something left in the
All right, so.
Well, make sure where we are. We'll give Kristen a minute or two.
Yeah, I'm reading, so look. The surrounding towns, it looks like they were not charging yet. So, Naples, no, there were no fees found. Bridgeton, Townfield, unclear. The Old Town, all courts are private and membership is required. Norway, public courts and fields appear to be free, courts are charged. Casco, courts and ball fields likely free. So,
Well then, let's just keep it the way the policy is now. The fee is now, nothing.
Right now, there's no charge.
If no other town is charging for their fields, then
I would just comment that I think most other towns, teams are utilizing their fields. You're providing a beautiful complex for other
Yeah.
out of town. So that's the thing,
There's
it's,
no charge.
But a lot of those other towns have Harrison kids on their team. So if Harrison children sign up for sports in Harrison and there's not enough enrollment to form a Harrison team, they put those Harrison kids that did sign up onto Norway or Waterford's teams, which has happened to my children in the past. So the Norway baseball team will use the Harrison field, which may have some Harrison children.
oh,
I think the idea was to not charge for them. This is like the.
Adult league.
The senior baseball league, right? Don't they use it? in-
yes.
I think we were also thinking if there was a majority of Harrison residents on the team.
So that's a different way to look at things, and if we're gonna charge for outside leagues, that, different conversation. And I think we need to have a bigger plan to accommodate all these different types of teams that we may see. Not, this information here is not enough to make a decision tonight, my opinion.
So then the fee stays zero.
The fee will stay zero then, unless Al can put it off till our next meeting. And then we can put it off till the next meeting. But
I think we have no choice. Yeah?
It sounds like
keep it at,
there's a sense of keeping it at zero,
for now.
and until we get more information in the future and think through it.
Yep.
Okay. So I think we've agreed not to change for now, for tonight,
Any radar fees.
or the fees regarding the use
So
of the
who,
fields.
just one more question, who collects the use of the field? It's Brig, that crew.
Front desk.
So maybe we should figure out this year who's using our field. That would help us figure out who to charge.
We had that conversation today, we're just discussing, I'm kind of curious about what the revenue would look like for for radar, and, yeah, we don't, I don't think, we just don't have the data, I guess, on, so it's hard for us to, you know, I mentioned, I'm
So this-
curious to see if we bring in over the next year to have an idea what kind of revenue, but I mean, if, that's another option, I guess, is to track the data for a year and make a decision next spring, so.
It sounds like that's the sense of
Okay, yeah.
keeping the fields at zero for this year. Get the data,
Make a decision
pile
over the winter
and next year, take a look at
so that it's ready for the
a more
rec next year.
complete fee usage.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving along. Does that,
I think that's really it.
No other proposed changes, everything else?
Everything else was through ordinances, so.
yep, just looking through the. Okay, So-
There is one on
Very last thing on the page.
CEO fines,
Yeah.
late mooring fee after June 30th.
But that should be defer, if we're deferring everything else with the moorings. I don't know if you want to.
change one particular one.
Yeah,
I
that
agree.
should, same thing.
Same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll wait, hold off on that.
Just by way of quick comment on that, I mean, one of the things that when we revisit that topic, one of the concerns raised was that we need to do a better job of enforcing moorings. So we'll see how town meeting goes, and then we'll decide if we're going to institute more rigid enforcement, and then what that would be in terms of the fees for legitimate registration. Okay, so you think we're done with fees?
Yes.
Do we need a vote to accept the fees?
We don't have a summary of our proposals though, for review.
Do you want to,
So,
Next meeting,
probably,
give us a summary,
I think that's,
and then we'll make a motion on the summary.
so is there some action that has to be taken between now and next meeting for registrations or mobile
Voted
site?
on those.
We voted,
That's right.
The rest of our registrations. So
Yeah.
those are,
we made a motion and voted on those, so those don't have to.
So the ones that we've voted on, you can go forward with.
so the summer rec fees, what else, what was the other one that we?
we did.
The second.
So that's the only one that
That's the only
the
one.
motion was made and,
Yep.
and the rest of them can have as a summary in the document.
Yeah. So let me just make sense. Do we want to sort of do an administrative vote next week with a fee schedule with everything? Understanding we voted on the ones that you have to take action on. Right? We've decided we're not changing anything for the ball fields, so that will proceed. And we did vote specifically for the summer rec program, so that can proceed. But as far as sort of agreeing on a new fee schedule, we'll wait till we pull all that together and vote on it next meeting, okay? All right. Sounds like we're finished for tonight with fees.
Oh, you didn't stop it, finished for tonight.
I know. So moving along,
New business.
so new business, we have the Lions Club pancake breakfast requests.
I see the request in front of us, it's 5-6 pages in,
And there's, it's.
6 dates, June 28th, July 26th, August 23rd, July 12th, August 9th, September 6th, 6 dates.
Is everybody? Yep.
Just one, can we,
Keep going.
the July Christmas in Harrison race is on the 12th, isn't it?
Yep.
Can we just add to this, just if they want to, they could use Crystal Lake Park for for their pancake breakfast for that date if they want to move it so that they're not in the middle of the race. That's up to them, but,
Yeah, we could mention it, but I don't think it'll happen.
you know. I'm just saying, if they want to, we could add it for that date so that they don't have to come back to us.
So let me make sure that the motion would be to approve the dates with the addendum that the board will also approve the option of moving the location on the 7/12 date to Crystal Lake Park.
Yes.
Is that what you're suggesting? So we'll just, we'll do the motion with that
Okay.
addition in mind.
I'll make a motion that we approve the event permit for the Lions Club Pancakes Breakfast on the 6 dates listed, with the option to use Crystal Lake Park if they would like, on July 12th.
I second.
Second, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
I'm just not voting because I'm part of the
Yeah,
line.
right. So 4-0, 1 abstention. We're on a roll now.
Next item,
Yeah.
Lions Club wiffle ball event. They did this last year,
Yep.
July 11th, 9 a.m. to noon. Crystal Lake Park.
I make a motion to accept the event permit from the Harrison Lions Club for the wiffle ball home run derby on July 11, 2026.
Second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the permit application for July 11th. All in favor? Is that a 5 at the end?
Well, I'm part of the line.
Oh, you're right, never mind, 4-0.
Back a few pages towards the beginning.
My mistake. So, first congregational yard sale.
Yeah.
Again, this is
Something new.
So my one question, because it sounds like they're setting up their own parking lot,
Yes.
is where are people going to park?
Probably Crystal Lake Park.
Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend.
Indoor toilets.
Is that? Maybe the week prior.
You need the additional insured though. I didn't see that they gave us. They didn't get that.
Yeah, they didn't get their own insurance, right?
Well, we have time on this, we want me to kick it back.
Yeah. We just don't
It's
have,
not till Memorial Day, so.
Yeah,
yeah. Kick it to the next meeting.
everybody in agreement? Just
Yeah.
a little more.
Saturday.
Well,
Well, it's the
maybe
Saturday
address the
Memorial Day
parking
weekend.
question.
Parking and insurance.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't think we need a specific motion to table that, but, so we'll put that on a, reschedule that for the next meeting. Probably we should have a formal motion to table it, but, next item, basketball court work, donation. John, I think this is, we didn't have any information on this.
This was a verbal phone call
Okay.
from Randy Baldwin, and I have not received any documents or plans or anything. So again, I would say defer until we have something.
Get some information about what he's
Proposing
suggesting.
doing it.
Correct.
Is he looking to fund it?
Doing it over.
The basketball, because it needs to be dug up. There's stumps and
I think he's
stuff
going to
debris under
donate.
there.
So that was an item from our capital plan.
And that is one of the things in the capital plan, yeah.
But that's not this year's, wasn't the following year?
It's not going to be for 26, 27, it would be for 27, 28.
Yeah, okay.
But this
Money would.
offer, this donation would have been for this
upcoming
coming
Okay.
summer.
We'll see more information at another meeting.
So we'll get something on paper that we can actually take a look at and decide if we have questions, need more information. So again, we'll defer that. Next item is the fiscal year 26, the 26-27 holiday schedule.
And this is from the clerk's office, requesting for the annual town report.
Looks good as presented, I mean.
So same number of, does our employee, there are changes in it to the employee handbook include the name schedule?
I don't believe there's any changes to the holiday section of the employee
Okay.
policy.
So what's the last item handwritten on the bottom?
Yeah.
Is that a question or?
It's a question, yes.
Why, is Christmas Eve new?
Um,
Or did they always get Christmas Eve off?
No, I believe past practice has been half-day. I know the way that the calendar falls this year, where Christmas is on a Friday, I know that the day after Christmas is typically the day off, but obviously the day after Christmas is not, work week this year, so, or next year.
I think
So how many holidays, is it 14 that are normally?
13, I believe, typically, plus a floating holiday, so.
14
So you
total.
have 14 on there.
So there's 14 on here.
I have no problem with giving
So
our employees.
let me just make sure so has there always been 13?
13 is a number that stands out in my mind as a typical,
Okay.
typical holidays paid off, yeah.
So if it's, I don't want to be petty, but if it's 13, then they have a choice of using, if she's questioning Christmas Eve, you can use that as your floating holiday or some other day,
Sure.
so that it stays the constant 14.
13.
Well, it'd be 13, but no, so
Right.
that would be 14, because they always get 14 with the floating.
With the floater.
And you guys would just have to figure out as a consensus, if everyone takes off the 24th, then town office is closed.
Yeah, that can be the employee's decision if they want to all take,
So that's a little bit of a stretch. So closed at end of day on Wednesday and not open until the following Monday.
I think most other people won't be doing
I don't
Christmas
think
on
people
those
will
days
go on
either.
Thursday,
so.
that's Christmas Eve. No,
Yeah.
I don't think many people are going to be coming into town hall. People are getting out of town or getting ready for Christmas.
Any input, Maureen?
So, and I thought this would be an easy one. So what's the sense of the board on the holiday schedule as proposed? Includes Christmas Eve as a holiday.
So I would like to know if it's in the personal, if it's in our handbook. It doesn't say how many
Because
vacation
it's
days?
different per year.
The
way-
number of
the way the-
vacation days is, or holidays is
The
different
way
per
the
year?
holiday schedule falls every year is a little different, so. I think, if I remember correctly, in the revised one, it references an annual
Okay.
approved holiday schedule,
Okay.
which is
Okay.
what
All right.
the board would do annually for.
So are we asking for these 14
Plus,
Plus
plus a
all.
floater?
I think so. That's the way this is presented.
That's the way it's, yeah, it's presented.
Sorry, the discretion of the supervisor, yeah, that would be what this proposal is.
My opinion is, we ask a lot of our employees, they don't get raises, they only get a cost of living raise most every year. I just think it's petty, I just think we could give them that one day off, Christmas Eve off, so people can get out of town if they're getting out of town. If they're getting family coming into town, they can prepare. I just, it's a little things that I think we should show our employees.
Right, does this schedule here include an extra holiday, but only for this year?
Yeah, I
Is that
think
what we're
just the way
saying?
the calendar fell.
Because of the way the calendar
Yeah.
falls. It just recognizes an extra holiday, so we're not institutionalizing the,
Because
It
July
changes
4th
every
is on
year.
a Saturday, so.
But they're taking,
Yeah,
they're
but they
observing
have-
them on Fridays.
I think, I mean, to me, it sounds like we're saying they're all traditional holidays. We're sort of introducing Christmas Eve as a holiday here. That's
I mean, it
kind of the
sounds
gist of
like,
this.
it sounds like in the past, they've had a half day. So basically, we're giving them a half day off.
I would
Can't speak
support,
to that.
I would support approving these 14 days as holidays, full days.
Full days. I
So-
agree.
So making Christmas Eve a full holiday,
Yes.
okay, with the understanding that that might not be the case next year.
Yes.
Calendar, it's gonna be different
Right.
for
Okay.
27,
Is that-
28.
Yeah,
the
as
sense?
long as our policy, I just want to make sure
Yep.
it wasn't called out so many days.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, do we have a motion to approve the holidays as presented?
I make a motion to approve the holidays as presented for 2026, 2027.
Second.
Motion's been made, and seconded, all in favor? 5-0. Paving RFP?
So this paving RFP references the projects that were approved for 26, 27. You look on page 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And the understanding is these are bids that are, the acceptance of any of these is subject to the approval at town meeting.
Yes.
This is all standard RFP.
So, yeah, it's the same one from last year, just obviously dates have changed and specifics for your project location descriptions have changed to what we put in the 26, 27 FY plan.
Are the dates realistic, in just a couple weeks? I mean, I assume that that's realistic.
So we're saying if we approve this, basically it goes out to the public tomorrow.
Right.
And that gives them,
It's close to 3 weeks.
yep. Yep.
And then, we're gonna make a decision if we can do these based on, because of obviously with what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah, it's like,
Oil prices.
as in the past, a, paving bid goes out and they come back with what they're able to do for such and such amount of money. And in some cases, we've had to, once the bids come in, reevaluate how much pavement we're gonna actually be able to get done based on the funds that we have allocated, so.
Yep. No different than the past.
Yeah, no, I understand, it's just,
So, let me just make sure.
There's an escalator
There's an
clause.
escalator clause, right? So on page 3, there's an escalator clause.
Ready to make a motion?
Just give them a second to digest that. Any other questions? If not, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the RFP for the 2026 paving.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the RFP for the roadwork, subject, including the reference to subject to approval at town meeting for the additional funds. Okay, all in favor? 5-0. All right, next item is, John, do you want to speak to this? The invite for 2 representatives?
Yeah, so the Greater Portland Council of Governments has a General Assembly and Annual Summit at St. Joseph's College this year. They are reaching out to look and see who would be representing the town, so we're allowed 2 delegates and an alternate, and last year it was Deb and Brad, and there were,
I think I substituted.
there was not a named alternate, so looking for 2 interested select board members, that one to be a delegate and one to be an alternate, and I guess I would be one of the delegates apparently.
I'd be interested.
Just to clarify, I substituted for Brad, but he backed out at the last minute for, I can't remember.
Okay.
So I'm.
So you were the delegate?
So I was.
So there was a delegate,
There
okay.
were- There were
I mean,
2.
there was a,
Deb and I went last year.
Okay.
I don't mind, if they don't want to do it, I don't mind being the alternate, because I really liked it. It was great. Can an alternate go? Even if,
Yeah, 2 people could go.
but with John and 2 people?
No.
No, you take my place or
No,
something.
you go, I went last year. It's really good. If Mike can't go, I go.
So let me just be sure we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So we're allowed 2 delegates and an alternate, so 3 people could go to the meeting.
Oh,
Oh, you just
According
can't vote.
to this, but yeah,
right.
the voting is not,
Yeah.
yeah, the voting is, that's the most important
And
part.
I can double check and see how many attendees can go. This is just looking for delegates.
Yeah.
So as far as people who can attend,
I just want to make sure that.
I'll go next
what,
Yeah.
what the number is for attendees.
I don't care if I would like to go as any.
Yeah.
I don't care if
Any of the above.
I'm
Any
a
of the
delegate,
above.
but
So
I'd
we
like
have
to
2
go.
volunteers,
Okay. Right.
okay?
Yes.
For the sake of time, we'll move on.
May 28th, maybe?
Get John worked that out.
My calendar.
The last time on the list of new business was the remote meeting policy, and I'm going to suggest we defer that to the next meeting.
Sounds good.
It's new, and we need to just talk about it a little bit. We're kind of winding down energy-wise.
Because I just had a quick question
It's here.
Yep.
towards the end.
Yep.
If this also meant the planning board, the comp plan, the budget committee, all falls under this, or is it just for the select board? It was a little unclear.
It would be for all committees and boards, so,
Because I was confused with the number 12, that how it was written there. It made it sound like it was referring to select board because,
So we'll consider this a first
Yeah.
reading.
yes,
number
so that,
12.
yeah.
Yep.
It just sort of made it sound like any publicly organized groups can follow it. It didn't make it sound like they had to. But that's just we could talk about it later.
Yep. So we'll just check the wording and make sure
Yeah.
it's clear that what
Okay.
the intent is and what it
Uh-huh.
covers.
Yep.
Under the other town boards and committees.
That should
So
follow.
it's kind of a
Yep.
wording issue. So everybody, maybe take the opportunity to look through this, and we'll have it on the next agenda as to hopefully voting it in as a remote meeting policy. Other business? Any miscellaneous topics that we haven't covered? Future meetings, we have a bunch of select board items, so nobody has any here. Go ahead.
Just one question, I was walking before the meeting, and right on 35 near the library, we have 2 pieces of the sidewalk that are up so high that someone's gonna get hurt. Either we need to close off that section of the sidewalk, or we need to get, I mean, it's heaved up probably 6 inches.
Did you say on 35?
Yeah, right on the sidewalk at the library of 35 in Maine.
I also noticed fresh spray paint on
Yeah.
the ADA ramps on both sides of the
And
street
then,
there.
so they are, there was somebody out there from the company that the state is using. They're planning to take care of the ADA ramps.
But this can't wait. This is accident waiting to
So right up
happen.
front in Maine?
You'll see it right on the
In front of the
corner of
benches
the
of the
library.
That it's heaved up.
Yes, badly.
On that note, was there, can you give me some history on if there was I guess there was an agreement with MDOT for the redoing of the ADA ramps? Does anybody remember if we ended up ever?
I recall that they had proposed that they were going to redo those.
Yeah.
They sent us a request for a waiver to move oversized equipment, which
Didn't make sense at the
it
time.
made no
They
sense
said
to us.
it
We
was last
knew
fall.
nothing about any project. We asked for more information, and they told us they were gonna be working on the ADA ramps
And they
last
never
year.
did.
And they never followed back up with the form?
So it was an item, and then I think they got confused, because we had gotten the notice,
We're starting tomorrow.
and they had confused Harrison with some other
Right, yeah.
project at the time.
So nothing got signed then?
Not caught.
I will follow up with MDOT.
Yeah. Okay,
Remote meeting policy, we're
we're deferring that to the next meeting. Any other items? If not, we'll move down to select board items.
Can I update? Harrison Educational Options Committee met yesterday. We had a couple of guests join us, which we're excited. Connie Brown, our educational consultant, gave her an update. She has visited Harrison Elementary School, and she has spoken with the superintendent at MSAB 61. She is working on gathering information for our public forum, which we're planning for April 28th or 9th? April. It's a Wednesday, help me out. Let's see.
April what?
29th is a Wednesday.
29th, so it's Wednesday, April 29th at the church. We are trying to work on figuring out, getting the message out to everybody, because we had a small amount of people last time, so we're strategizing on that. And we are going over the presentation to update it with the information we have from Connie. We're also gathering our signatures. I will let people know I'll be at Harrison General Store Saturday morning about 9:30. And then I'll be at the transfer station from like 11 to 12, looking for signatures so that we can understand that the Educational Options Committee should continue their work with our goal of creating a warrant for the June town meeting. That will be whether or not we should continue this process, and we're coming up with estimates of the money we might need.
How many signatures do you need and how many do you have?
I don't have Amy's list. I'm thinking we have about 100 and we need a minimum, like 133. We're going for 150. Yeah, so we're getting there.
So just to be clear, the
Yes.
the signatures you're asking for is the request to create a warrant article. That's,
Yes, let's say that is
people are...
basically
yeah.
true. Yes,
People who would be interested in having us put a warrant article to create a withdrawal committee
correct.
is the purpose of the list that you're gathering signatures for.
Yes,
So it's to keep the process, the next step in the required series of 20 or so steps for any town that's looking at this topic, not making a decision on anything, but simply continuing the process.
correct.
Having said that, we have to finalize our warrant in April.
What day in April?
I'd have to look at June 10th is town meeting.
Right.
So working backwards.
So let's say by the end of the second meeting in April, conversation tonight.
So our next meeting is April 15th and our...
16th.
No, our
Oh, you're right, yes.
HEOC.
Yep.
So our plan is to have the answer at that meeting, so we can give the select board that information and the town manager.
So the select board would expect to have enough information to, in support of whatever the warrant article would be,
Okay.
to ask us to vote to put it on.
How's the feedback on signatures?
No problem getting signatures. I just gotta find the people.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was just curious
Yes.
if you're getting feedback, people saying, no, I don't want to sign that, why are we wasting money? Or-
Nope, they all say we need to get more information about what's going on.
Good.
Yeah.
And I guess we got no additional information tonight on the site selection, which has been the
We
big
do not.
topic.
But he did say expected in April. He thought that it would be provided in April. I read that in the minutes from a school board meeting, so.
That they expect to make a recommendation in April.
And the radar is not on the list.
I'm sorry?
And radar is not on the
That's
list.
okay.
Is that
I'm
a
just,
statement?
no, I'm just asking. Does anybody-
I didn't, they haven't given us anything to believe it is.
Yeah, I think we would know if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Do you, just a related question, did we ever get, or do we know what the deferred maintenance that they referred to for Harrison?
Well, I just have it from what I didn't bring that with me, but I have it from my presentation. It's in there. It was like
We have
3
the
million
list.
something.
But we have the list.
3 million too.
Yeah, 3 million something.
Okay, all right. But we know where that is made up of, the things that they've deferred?
No, we
We just have the
don't.
number.
I believe Connie might be getting some more information for us on that.
Okay.
Yes, yes. She did mention
Okay.
that. Because, I can give you more
Enough?
information. Yes, that's enough.
That's enough.
But I do want to say one other thing that isn't on here. The Citizen of the Year committee has met. I have 5 members, and we have posted online what the committee is all about and the applications for Citizen of the Year. So there's a deadline on there, I think it's May 1st, and the committee will re-meet after that to go over our applications. We have a plan for some type of plaque. I know we have no budget, but we'll figure that out. We might be selling candy bars or a bake sale, and we're going from there. But the people on the committee are very enthusiastic about it, and we encourage everybody who has someone to nominate to please nominate them.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Yes.
We'll have to remember to put that under select board items for the future meetings, so.
Yep, it's okay.
Thank you. Comprehensive Planning Committee?
Yep, so I left this up here for all the select board members, a little card, and there's ones by the door, to you guys who are still hanging out. Our first workshop, so within the contract with GP Cog, they're gonna be working with us to run 4 workshops. The first one, it will be Saturday, April 11th, at the community room above the firehouse. There'll be 4 different activities going on. One of them, looking at different type of housing options, and people will put stickers if they like it or not. If we should build more like this or not like that. Growth areas, so there'll be a map, and people put stickers of, this is where growth is okay, nope, we want this area protected. There will be a money game where here's like $100, here are different things, you could put the money back in and say, nope, don't raise our taxes at all, or put it into this bucket for doing repairs here, or affordable housing and things like that, so different buckets. And the last one will be a vision board of what do you want Harrison to look like in so many years, and you just write down your thoughts. We have some giveaways from local businesses, so there'll be door prizes handed out. So excited about that. The other thing, the survey will be ready. We will have printed copies at the event. We are working on the process of getting notices out to all taxpayers about the survey. It will also be online, so people can either do a hard copy or do it online. They're expecting to have it open until after town meeting and then close it so it's not open too long. And the last part is we now have a website up and running. It's harrison2027.org.
Nice.
And it just has information about what's going on. It'll have pictures from the events. It'll have presentations. Last night we had a presentation from one of the Maine marine biologists talking about conservation areas, rare animals, all that type of stuff. And then we had one previously on affordable housing. So those presentations are up there for anyone to look at, as well as recordings. Do you guys have any questions?
Much progress.
Can't wait to check it out.
Now I'm expecting to see all you guys at the workshop.
Door prizes.
Door prizes.
And fun money to spend.
Yes,
Can I get signatures while I'm there?
yes you can.
Kristen, this is the first of a number of
It's
public
the
hearings?
first of four. Yep.
And those will be held over the next roughly 6 or 7 months or so?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, through the summer, so we'll catch.
So through this, you look at the summer people, these are just the ones that are being driven by GPCOG. So we can do things like, if we're really concerned about lake quality or areas within that we can look at, we can set up at the boat launches and collect data and things like that. So we can do our own projects as well.
Good. Thank you. Moving on, capital improvement plan. So we have to finish this, and we have to schedule some time to finish this. The goal is to have wrapped up at least a first draft, a first walkthrough of all 5 years before town meeting, so we can say we're making progress. So we needed to pick a date.
Schedule is tight, so just as a recap on what we got coming up, Monday, April 6th is the joint workshop with the budget committee, right?
And I'm only there until like 10 to 6.
Yeah. Then April 2nd, which is next Thursday, is the public safety public hearing, right? Then we have our regular select board meeting the next Thursday, which is the 9th. Then the following Thursday is the 16th, which is the public hearing on the budget. Then the week after is the 23rd, where we have another select board meeting. And if you want to have every Thursday night occupied, April 30th, there's a GPCOG Lakes Region meeting in Naples from 5:30 to 7:30. So,
I'm away that
Life.
then.
So other than that, I guess we're looking at May for, unless you want to do an off night for, we've got a lot going on in April.
How does May sound?
Better than April.
May 7th is open still.
May 7th?
First Thursday of the month.
May 7th?
Yeah.
May 7th?
Keep that streak going, and then we'll have two Thursdays in a row in May.
So May 7th is the capital planning workshop.
Which, now that we've got some experience, hopefully we'll move along
A list
quickly.
of all the dates.
6
Can you
o'clock.
make up a list of all the dates so I can put them in my phone?
It's every Thursday.
Next Monday, and then every Thursday.
Every Thursday up until,
Except the 30th, we're not here the 30th.
no, but if they want to go to the GPCOG event, that's
at least
a
not this
Thursday.
year.
All right, so you'll publish a schedule for us, so we'll know,
What time?
we'll know when we show up every week what we're showing up for.
6 o'clock?
Want to do this? Yeah.
6 o'clock for all of the times?
That's
Okay.
What did we say, April, April 30th was what?
GPCOG, there's a GPCOG meeting in
The
Naples.
one that we already.
Oh, but I don't have to go to
No,
that.
you don't have to go.
There you go, that's what.
So just for,
April 30th, Bruce.
But we have the budget committee is already going to be in.
Sorry.
so for clarification, the GPCOG meeting, we're invited, we're not required. It was, I know one time they tried to limit it to a couple of representatives per town.
Yeah, we won.
The three of us
You've
went
gone
to do it.
Two, so if there's,
Okay.
two's a good number, so if
Two's a good
there's
number.
two of you, they'll just let me know, and
Okay.
if they need to know ahead of time.
And it's good if, for anybody who hasn't been, it's good to attend one to
It was good.
meet
to Try to do some.
the other representatives from the other Lakes Region towns. Public safety hearing. So, 6 months or so ago, we agreed on one of the priorities was the public safety. And my understanding is that'll tie in a little bit with some of the options that have been recommended from the Budget Committee. So we'll have our joint budget workshop, and then this is an opportunity to have a discussion regarding the different options we have, not only on law enforcement, but also first responder coverage. Sort of talk through the options, whether we've got some long-term options or whether we've got some short-term options that we can try and use if there are some trends that we need, John will make us aware of perhaps. That was the purpose of this, so that we could, I think, spend some time on some areas before town meeting, fleshing out all the data that we have available and be able to make some intelligent decisions regarding public safety. So it's sort of a follow-up, at least part of it, to the strategic staffing study from a couple of years ago, where there was a recommendation to go to a career force, full-time fire chief. That was voted down, and we've never revisited what the other options are and where we want to go. So that was the purpose of this. So having said that, I think you said we've scheduled it for, I lost track of my dates already, Thursday, I know. Is it the 2nd? Okay.
What second?
April 2nd.
April 2nd. Oh,
Every Thursday in April.
I may or may not be there,
Okay.
just so you know.
Last item is just...
Wait, one second. Is it 6 PM here? Is that
5:30.
5:30? Anyway.
At the school.
Oh, at the school?
Yeah, we have the school for the public hearings.
Oh.
That's, well, that's a, okay, 5:30.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure you...
Well, I don't want to rush you, take your time. It's
Yeah, go
almost
ahead.
9 o'clock, past 9 o'clock, but take your time.
Yeah, keep going. I'm all set now. 5:30
All
on
right.
April 2nd.
The last item just was that you have a draft of an annual letter that the thought is that we should put something like this in the town report.
It looked really good.
John will also be doing a letter. So this draft from the select board is at more of a priority direction, sort of overall theme. How do you think things should work? And John will be more on operational accomplishments. So, I don't know that we need to do anything. Do we need to do anything formal on this? I guess we just need to have the board provide any feedback. If they'd like to see any changes, otherwise we'll include it in the town report. And we have a week or two, I think, before we actually have to commit to it.
I think there'll be a little more than a week or two.
Okay, I can't recall the date, but let's give the board a week or two. And so, if you can think of anything over the next week, provide comments to John, suggestions to John.
Okay. My only comment was, we talk about the core principles. It'd be nice, because I don't think everyone's seen them, is to actually put them in there.
Okay, so we'll try and figure out a way to create a format where we can fit
Just
it
make
in
it,
without...
just for abbreviate it, so they know what we're talking about.
Yep, got it, good idea. Okay, we're done with that. Next item is the next regular meeting is Thursday, April 9th, 6 PM. The last item we have on this agenda is an executive session. So I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for MRSA Section 405, Paragraph 6A for evaluation of an employee.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion, moved and seconded to go into executive session. All in favor? 5-0. Do not expect any votes in the executive session, and we'll be adjourning as soon as we come out of it.
We have her meeting after that.
It's the assessor meeting.
Yeah, we have an assessor meeting.
Right, so separate
Oh.
and distinct
Yes.
from the board meeting, we'll come
Yes.
back and adjourn.
Yeah, okay.
And that'll be the end of the board meeting. we'll have as a posted meeting, an assessors meeting, which also will be very brief. So the idea is, let's adjourn to the other room and quickly try and do our business.
Pass it down.